Well, it happened, folks. My stupid, foolish, plague-carrying, sick partner has given me a sore throat. We'll see how much that affects me. At least it's not a goddamn cough. And I ordered a new keyboard. It'll be here tomorrow. Hi, Vosh, take cough drops. Wow. Oh, hey, fried rice. Do not get the flu. I have it right now and my body feels like it's burning and freezing. Yeah, that sounds like it sucks. Couldn't be me. But are they still beautiful? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Hey, Kimmy Khan. My fucking stream VOD the other day got nuked. Goddamn Guardian. That was why, by the way. It had nothing to do with the footage of ICE executing a man. It was the Guardian. God, I fucking hate them. I keep forgetting. They didn't used to auto-nuke anything that, used their content. Sure, maybe they would limited ads or whatever, but not fucking block the content. You ever COVID test anymore? Like every time I get a sore throat? No. I think I need a few more symptoms than that. Hmm. They do be guarding their copyright. They do. They do. Yeah. I need this. My axioms are kind of unameliorated. We've been very axiomatic lately. We've been very ameliorated lately, you know? I feel like we've been honing in on the keen points. You have a bad immune system or something? I feel like you're always sick. Well, I always have allergies, for one, and for two, I often have a recurring cough after I get sick. So it's more like I get sick once a year, and then I have like a recurring cough that persists for a while afterwards, leaving an impression of persistent sickness. Um, but also, you know, straight up smooching my sick partner probably did it in for me this time. I'll take that. You know, this is my second time getting sick in recent memory. Many such cases. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Getting my one per year out of the way early. A foolish miscalculation. I regret nothing. Thank you. Do you take vitamin C or vitamin D? I can tell you my partner takes plenty of vitamin D. Ew. Yeah, I could do for some of that. So much of that stuff is bullshit though. You know that like airborne tablet you would put in your drinks and it turns out it did absolutely nothing? You know what I'm talking about? Airbornes were like a big thing for a while. And then it came out they did nothing. They had like basically no effect at all. And emergency, it's just vitamin C. Yeah, but you can get your vitamin C in anything, but they're kind of tasty. Yeah, they are kind of tasty. So run them as candy, you know? I don't know what you want from me. Emergency is one of the greatest scams ever. Yeah. I hope one day we get all this figured out. It feels like we know so little about health. People are still getting like, you know, fooled on dietary stuff. I feel like we've gotten 99% of dietary stuff kind of figured out. But people play around so much with the 1%. Our biology is obnoxiously complicated. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You, yeah. Yep. Yes, sir. Take zinc. So I come more? I know what you want. Apparently some vitamins actually cancel each other out. That's how chemistry works, man. It's like people who wash their clothes and they put the detergent and the vinegar in the bowl of the washer at the same time. And it's like, buddy, detergent is basic and vinegar is acidic. You're canceling out the both. Wait, are you not supposed to do that? No! You put the vinegar in the fabric softener slot so that it gets added later after the detergent's been dissolved. Couldn't survive on his diet. Yeah, well, you know. Do you guys not know how to wash your clothes? Nobody knows how to do anything anymore, okay? Nobody knows anything about anything. Yeah, don't use fabric softener ever. You should never use. It's not worth it. You know what? You know what fabric softener does? It adds little wax microbeads to your clothing so that it feels softer. It doesn't soften the clothing. It just like adds wax to it. You're blocking it up. It's making it less breathable. You're just adding like. Yeah, it ruins your clothes. It makes your towels less absorbent. Not good. Not good. Fabric softener and dryer sheets is good though? Nope, same thing. It's exactly the same thing. Little bits of wax on it that it's the same thing. Dryer sheets are bad? Yeah. Do you wash with warm water or cold water? Well, it depends on what you're washing, all right? Should we eat Tide Pods? If you want to. There are so many industries where we have figured out how to do what we need to do the right way dozens or hundreds of years ago. And in order to continue fleecing money out of people, they have to keep like reinventing the wheel, you know? We've already figured this out. We figured soap out hundreds of years ago, okay? It's not like none of this is new. Nobody's giving you new information. It's all done. Well, at any rate. Boop. Want to see something funny? Maybe you've already seen it. It's like a joke. The sick joke of a reality that we live in. To the Joker, this would be normal.
Reporting on guidance that FEMA was given about messaging for the storm.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. So I've learned that Homeland Security officials have come to FEMA staff and told them to limit the use of the word ICE in their public messaging and social media posts when talking about the storm. The concern is obviously the connection between the immigration enforcement that's happening across the country, particularly in Minnesota. And what they are worried about here is that by posting something like, watch out for the ICE, that it's going to become an opportunity for a meme, for internet fodder, for public ridicule against the Department of Homeland Security. So
it's so fucking stupid, dude. Can you? We basically don't have a federal government anymore. Like when you've reached the point where the Department of Homeland Security can make advisory notices to FEMA. I'm sorry, what is your jurisdiction there? You don't supersede FEMA. That's not how it works. But in this administration, it is, because every branch of the administrative state is basically defunct, except for the Department of Homeland Security, which has been pumped with all the money in the world. FEMA is under DHS? Damn, shows what I know. FEMA didn't exist before 2003? I thought they were part of the DOE, along with other atmospheric science stuff. Huh, okay. Well, fuck me then. I guess they have total authority. This is totally normal. They got moved? Yeah. Okay, yeah, established in 1979 and integrated into DHS post 9/11. Huh. I guess in a way it kind of makes sense that it would be under DHS if you assume that DHS actually was concerned with Homeland Security and not with brutalizing immigrants, you know? Like you could fit that under the fold there a little bit, you know, like Homeland Security protecting us from natural disasters, right? That makes sense. Except of course DHS isn't actually about protecting Americans. Huh, all right, well. Still stupid. Everything's 9/11? Yeah. No, for sure. Everything is 9/11, yeah. Cool. Lots and lots of agencies fall under the DHS. Well, it kind of makes sense in a way if you think about it as part of the encroach of the surveillance state and of the police state, right? The idea that you would want more and more agencies that sort of internally regulate our government, like it's stuff, internal policing, right? Whether that be immigration or border patrol or FEMA, right? To have them folded under the auspices of the DHS, right? Who've always had, you know, undue power. Cool stuff. Wasn't FEMA a big thing during Katrina? Yeah, well, that would have been like a post-DHS integration, you know? Makes me wonder if that had an impact on it, you know? Did FEMA do worse in Katrina because they were placed under DHS? Because they had a bunch of, like, racist ICE and Border Patrol guys making managerial decisions? Wouldn't surprise me. I have to read up on that. I genuinely don't know. Clearly, I don't know anything. Oh, I do know something, which is that this is extremely silly. It's a very, very, very social media conscious administration, you know?
They're asking FEMA staff, if you can, don't use the word ice, try to use the term freezing rain. But part of the problem here, as I talk to
freezing rain
agency officials about this, is they're saying what we're talking about is ice, and what we're talking about is saving lives.
Yeah, no, when you say freezing rain, that makes me think, oh, I'll put on a raincoat. It doesn't make me think ice.
Right, and what we're largely talking about, and I'm not a forecaster, but this is largely an ice event. And a lot of states that I've talked to are saying what we're preparing for is destructive ice that could damage power grids, you know, cut power to a lot of homes and wreak havoc on roads. And it is pretty remarkable that Homeland Security is saying, please try to avoid using that word.
Because they're afraid of memes. Meanwhile, lives are on the line. Another incredibly idiotic story. Thanks so much. You also
That was straightforward. That's the most straightforward coverage I've ever seen from CNN, to be honest with you. That was just, they're just like, wow, that's fucking stupid. Goodbye. So, okay. So, I mean, I hate Tapper, but, you know, I guess I appreciate him being earnest and forthcoming there. Afraid of memes? Look, I said this yesterday, but it came at, why do you hate Tapper? Every possible reason you could hate a person. I'm not even getting into it. He's evil. Anyway, I talked about this yesterday, but with regard to like social media conscientiousness from the administration, it came out recently that in addition to a bunch of other really funny stuff, the response from the FBI and Kash Patel specifically after Charlie Kirk's Kirkening was their social media response. Like, hit the ground running, you know? First thing, what do? Not investigate the scene, not deploy agents, not coordinate resources with local PD. First thing we're going to do, we're going to tweet. First, I'm going to tweet this, and then you're going to tweet that. He's talking with Bongino, you know? I'm going to tweet, then you're going to tweet, then I'm going to tweet. We've got this covered, brother. What? One of us is gonna confidentially leak to Tim Pool that Charlie Kirk is stable? Really build the anticipation up, you know? Please, God. God, it's such a fucking joke. Want to see something that's not a joke? I kind of want, like, on the opposite side of competence, you know?
There's no doubt about it. Right now, a big winter storm is headed our way. It looks like at least 8 to 9...
Love his custom fleece zip up, by the way. Zoran Mamdani Mayor. Super cool.
...inches of snow, if not more. Luckily, when it snows here, New York City's strongest are on the front line. On Friday morning, the Department of Sanitation began preparing our roads and highways for the snowstorm. Thousands of DSNY trucks have been converted into snowplows, transforming our city sanitation department into the nation's largest snow fighting force. This weekend, each 12-hour shift will be staffed by more than 2,000 sanitation workers. As soon as the first snowflakes fall, crews will begin salting roads in every neighborhood in every borough. And once there's more than...
It's like he embarrasses every other local leader. Like, why aren't you trying this hard? I think what a lot of people don't... So many people, they treat the mayorship or any political position like a bureaucracy. What they need to treat it like is a war. because that's how the right managed to get Trump in office a second time, you know? Like every day you have to wake up and you have to go, what is the most I can do? Right? Like millions of people are counting on me. What is the most that I can do? Every morning you have to get up and you have to visualize your candidacy, your mayorship or whatever else, your congressionship, whatever, as a battle against the worst timeline. You know? Mamdani seems to be the only Dem that realizes how important social media messaging is. Yeah, to a large extent, yeah. I mean, well, Republicans understand, right? Like Kash Patel understands, it's, you know, even if it's like in a more embarrassing way. But yeah, no, 100%. It's just, you have to remind people that you're fighting for them. And not in the typical, we hear you, we see you, we just voted more money to Raytheon kind of way or whatever. But like, I mentioned this to you before, but snowstorms implicitly mean municipalities in northern states have to be more organized because there's more done at local levels. I think you're right about that. Yeah. Yeah. If winters can get bad in an area, it basically necessitates some level of organized, you know, coordinated municipal engagement with that, right? Hot summers don't really like, so you get like rough summers in LA, people get heat stroke or whatever. The government doesn't really do anything about that, right? Like there's not much, like, what are you gonna, there's not much you can do apart from, I don't know, knock the fire hydrants off, you know, build some shade for next year. It doesn't require the same kind of investment. Before we finish the video, I just want to say, with regard to coordination, take a look at this. New York City has an app that allows you to see how recently the streets were plowed of snow. And look at this. Green means 0 to 1 hours ago. That is really good. Well done, Mamdani. Did a great job. I mean, obviously he's not the one plowing it, but he's coordinated the effort, and, you know, that is very, very good. No, he is plowing. He might be plowing. nyc.gov/plow-nyc. I've always really appreciated the fact that in New York City, and this is unique, like in the world, I don't know anywhere else in America, at least, that does this. The New York City local government, they treat the sanitation workers like the military. They have their own uniforms. They have like badges, awards, and honors. They have like honorable, like when a person retires or dies, they get the 5-star treatment, which I think is base. They basically get treated like cops, except they're fighting, you know, grime instead of black people. Wait, that doesn't stand with the USA? Fuck no. God no. Absolutely not. Not even remotely. I don't think there are many places in the world where every sanitation worker has a service photo that looks like this, you know? That's pretty unique to New York City, I feel. Based? Oh, it's super based, yeah. They look good as hell too. Sorry about the grainy ass photo. I'm just pulling off Google Images here, but you know. Look at this. From NYC Sanitation, just a random post from 2023. At today's graduation and promotion ceremony, this is for sanitation workers, 93 sanitation workers joined the strongest. 72 workers donned bars as newly promoted supervisors, and Anthony Penolino took his oath as chief of department. They have like service dress. It's a whole thing. God bless them. Only real city? It's the only real city in the world. Yeah. For sure. It's pretty cool, but what's the point of this? I'm not sure what you mean. Stuff like this builds tradition, discipline, and respect, and sanitation workers should be respected. Imagine, if you will, a world where the police don't suck, okay? Sanitation workers are objectively more committed day to day to keeping the city together than either fire or police. That's just a fact. They have far more work to do. Crime and fire are, ephemeral, spotty. They pop up, oh here. Grime is everywhere. This is 24/7, baby. They're on it. They're engaged in a non-stop battle. Yeah, they're fighting entropy. It's the greatest enemy of all.
2 inches of snow on the ground, plows will roll out across more than 19,000 lane miles of roadways and bikeways. The job doesn't just stop at the curb. The city's emergency management team is at the ready, coordinating our response and making sure that New Yorkers are informed every step of the way. We're ready, but we need you to do your part too. Here's how. If you're a property owner, you're responsible for clearing the snow and the ice from your sidewalk. And while sanitation workers are clearing our streets, trash and recycling pickup may be delayed, so please be patient. You can call 311 or check nyc.gov/DSNY for updates. For all other updates, be sure to sign up by texting Notify NYC to 692-692. My ask to you is to avoid unnecessary travel on Sunday. We're coordinating with the MTA to ensure that public transit continues running as smoothly as possible. And for all of our public school students, we'll be making the decision by Sunday at 12 p.m. on whether Monday will be an in-person school day or a remote learning day.
And to all our school kids, that means the next time you see the mayor, you can get him with a snowball.
In the meantime, take care of yourself. Check in on your neighbors. And when the snow stops, maybe grab a sled. Enjoy your city.
It's very nice. It's very nice. It's very cute. It's was that John, New York? Yeah. That worker looks so happy. It is impossible to overstate how much more you can get from people willingly and happily if you boost their morale, and how much their morale is boosted if you let them know you value their work. Can you imagine working under Cuomo or Adams as a sanitation worker? Like, they fucking do not give a shit about you. Like, to them, you are the dirt you clean up, you know? Yeah. If only more cities were like this. Just a sec. I have to pitch a ball to the editors early because they've got stuff to do on a Sunday. Can you imagine not just sitting here watching my streams? How come New York sidewalks are still piled with trash if it works so well? Unfortunately, that's just a consequence of how poorly the city was designed from the get-go. The alleyways don't have room for dumpsters. Like, the famous New York trash has been because the standard model that we've applied basically everywhere on Earth, which is where you have the dumpsters in the alleyways, that you have trash cans like at homes, and then you have dumpsters in the back of the alleys. Yeah, you don't have alleys, right? You just have more streets. There's not really a place to put them. In some places there are, and there have been steps taken. Okay, I did go to New York City last year, and it did look better than I've heard it used to look before the Adams administration. One second. Sent. You can just call it "This country is a fucking joke," or some such thing. Have a good time at the thing. Yes. Trash removal's gotten better in Lower Manhattan thanks to congestion pricing. That makes sense. That makes sense. That's good to hear. A good city deserves a good smell, or at least a good-ish smell. Press conference with the NYCEM. Sure. While we're in the mood, I'll take a quick peek. I'll take a quick peek. Denmark actually has really cool trash infrastructure. Whoa, Denmark does? Wow, Denmark does. Oh, everyone, hold up. Did you know one of the small, extremely high GDP per capita Northern European nations has cool infrastructure? Everyone, stop what you're doing. If you got me on the second monitor, move me to the first monitor. Let's take a look at this. I'm sorry, I'm just razzing you, Soggy Nymph. It's just, I just mean we can do that. I'm just razzing you. I'm just yanking your chain a little bit. It's okay. I'm not mad. Not mad. I'm a little mad. I do have you on the second monitor. Buddy, I have me on the second monitor. My OBS window is on the second monitor. I have to look to the right to see me. What the fuck is this? Just AI? Like, unironically? Loud. I'll just mute it. They're trash compactors? Huh. Toilet paper. Poop. Most European cities have these. I will never recover from the psychic damage that I took when I went to Barcelona and I saw that they had a bunch of these like little mini garbage trucks slash pressure washers that they had sanitation workers driving around just doing spot cleaning. That pissed me off. Fucking Barcelona again. Well, that's the only European city I've spent time in, apart from Frankfurt, but that was just during a layover. Do you not have a lot of those in America? No, we have none of those in America. Literally none. Nowhere in America are there small garbage trucks with pressure washers. We have nothing here. So how are your streets cleaned? They aren't. The streets are cleaned by street sweepers. The sidewalks aren't cleaned. They're just not. They're not cleaned. The rain? Hey, sometimes we use prisoners as trash slaves. Give us some credit. That is true. So far, the best solution we have come up with to widespread littering is we enslave prisoners in California and we get them to march along highways in the dead of summer and gruelly pick up trash with sticks. It's the only way. Newsom would love that. He does love that because he oversees it. He loves it actively.
Early this morning, snow began to fall. And while the sun had not yet risen, New York City's workers certainly had, including the DSNY workers that I had the privilege of thanking earlier today for all that they have done. Overnight and for the past several days, a vast, coordinated, citywide response has prepared New York City for one of the largest anticipated snowfalls and periods of sustained cold in recent years. I just got out of a comprehensive NYSEM emergency planning meeting where I was briefed on everything our city continues to do to respond to this storm. I'm grateful to our NYSEM leadership, our agency leadership, and every single city worker who has been working tirelessly in freezing conditions. Our city is in good stead, thanks to them.
New York is nowhere near the worst hit by this winter storm. It's supposed to be generational, right? Like the worst one since that one in the mid-'80s. Like a truly maddeningly cold storm. What I saw on Twitter, could somebody confirm this? Because I only saw it on Twitter, that Ontario, Canada, is looking to be one of the coldest places on Earth at about minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, sheesh. I think Canada is getting the worst of it. though we're still getting a lot of it in the Northeast. 3-day forecast snow accumulation in inches, and we've got areas that are hitting 3 feet plus. That's a lot. Ice accumulation in inches. Fucking 1 inch of ice on your sidewalk. Jesus Christ. My mom is in Nova Scotia. They're preparing for multiple days without being able to leave the house. Yeah, I've seen people preparing for it. Yeah. Coldest place on Earth right now as of 9 a.m. January 24th. Key Lake, minus 45 degrees Celsius. South End, minus 43 degrees Celsius. Flin Flon, minus 42. The Pass, minus 41. Grand Rapids, minus 41. All in Canada. Sheesh. I know I'm going to sound very stupid, but how does the coldest colds combine with global warming? Because it just contributes to more extremes across the board. With global warming disrupts an otherwise more or less stable like climate equilibrium, and it causes greater whiplashes. You'll have worse storms, worse winters, worse summers, worse everything. You're not safe anywhere, really. Grand Rapids is in Michigan. Oh, I don't know if there's a Grand Rapids, Canada. I was just reading the comment. I'm just reading the comment. It can't be leftist dishonesty if I'm reading the comment. "16 minutes ago, look at this from Australia." Australia! Support services on alert as Adelaide possibly facing its hottest Australia day. Oh, they have an Australia day. That's cute. Will Seattle be getting any of this storm? No, it's not affecting the Northwest. It has been pretty cold, but pretty cold here in Seattle means hovering around 35. Not even remotely. Literally, like, to be clear, about 80 degrees warmer than a lot of Canada right now. 80, like the 80 degrees up from where from freezing is like 110. It's that, but lower. Hold on. Let's find vidges. Winter storm. Potholer 54 is good. Potholer 54 is a phenomenal channel.
Square. This is live in New York City. People still out and about. It's 14. Wind chill. Every once in a while when that wind comes by, feels closer to about 2 lonely degrees. So it is snowy and it is cold, and that's where we've got our Fox Weather Robert Ray. He's actually stationed in LaGuardia, which is shut down for the day. And Robert, I see people behind you there. What are you seeing and what are you hearing there from LaGuardia?
Well, Nick, we moved to Times Square here in Midtown Manhattan, and my goodness, when's the last time we saw snow covering the center of the world, right? Times Square like this, and you see...
We can go colder than this. I want to look at some video coverage.
So we're seeing 1 inch per hour snowfall rates from Baltimore to Philadelphia to New York City throughout the morning hours. That's what's going to add up so quickly and make travel really difficult. Not that it already has not been. If you go back to the south and west, the northern fringe of this on the radar here to Detroit and Chicago, but the heaviest snow is falling just north of that pink line over to Washington, D.C. It's about that freezing rain, though, encasing everything back to Mississippi.
Freezing rain, huh? Because the ticker down here says snow and ice. ABC.
And Louisiana this morning.
This morning, snow, ice, and frigid temperatures sweeping across the nation. 20 states under a state of emergency.
Looks like a jellyfish.
That's more than 190 million Americans with some sort of winter weather alert. From Kansas to Tennessee, snow first blanketed major roads Saturday. In St. Louis,
freezing rain's the worst. Oh, no, freezing rain's super dangerous. It's just that the memo from the DHS encouraged FEMA to issue inaccurate warnings, conflating ice and freezing rain, even though they're different things. Like, ice on its own is just when the water freezes, but freezing rain is when it's liquid in the air and then it freezes as soon as it lands. So like in a second, a road can just turn into a solid sheet of ice. You just can't drive. You just can't. Just don't even try to drive for any it's not worth it, you know?
Missouri, several cars and semi-trucks crashed, spilling cargo all over the road. Similar scenes on Interstate 44. City firefighters battling this fire in sub-zero wind chills. People that were evacuated were moved to warming
You
shelters.
think the fire would like
In
get the hint?
Tennessee, officials warning of dangerous travel as freezing rain and sleet now accumulate.
This is just turning back to ice. Please stay off.
You're embarrassing us for the European viewers.
Off the roadways.
Jesus fucking Christ.
In Nashville, watch as the city bus slides off the road, narrowly missing 2 crashed cars and knocking down a utility pole. Crews in Oklahoma working diligently to de-ice roads and restore power lines.
We'll just keep going around the clock, and as the snow falls, we'll continue to plow.
In Texas, cars stuck along the Woodall-Rogers Freeway in downtown Dallas after the Dallas Mavs game let out Saturday night.
Freezing rain happens when it's colder near the ground than it is up in the sky, right? Like the rain falls at a rain temperature and then it comes into contact with the ground, which is like -2 degrees or whatever, and instantly freezes. That shit's scary, man. Jesus Christ. I don't have much experience driving over ice and snow. Obviously, because I grew up in California and it barely snows in Seattle. But I just like, I feel like if anything, people really understate how dangerous it is. You know? Everyone wants to be cool. They don't want to be like the guy who says that they have trouble driving in the snow, but everyone does. Especially the ice.
The cold air over the warmer water in the Guadalupe River creating steam. Freezing rain encasing cars, roads, and sidewalks in Florence, Alabama. And that accumulating ice is where we expect power outages.
You'll start to see things such as the cross arms break, even pole tops can tumble when you get around that inch of accumulation on the line.
The biggest threat right now continues to be the ice.
This storm is just getting started in the Northeast for a messy Sunday ahead. State leaders urging people to stay inside.
Please stay off the road as best you can.
Philadelphia, snow now and snow for the next 5-6 hours before the wintry mix cuts in. You could also see wind gusts up to 25 miles per hour, so it's tough to see around there. We've got ice storm warnings in place from Austin back to Kerrville, Texas, all the way through Mississippi, where we're seeing a lot of pictures just come in. And then worried about the 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch of ice still to come in parts of western South Carolina, North Carolina, and northeast Georgia. But obviously the winter storm warnings go all the way up into New England, where we anticipate some of the biggest snow totals, easily in excess of 1.5 feet. So let's go ahead and break it down. The travel's going to be the big problem. I know we keep saying don't go out, but we keep seeing pictures come in of people out. So unless you're
obviously there are still going to be people.
You're a first
People
responder
crave
or you've
death.
got a job that you've got to get to, and thank you if you're a hospital worker, by the way. We do see more in the way of impacts from Mississippi through Kentucky, North Carolina, but up here, that's where the major impacts are. And you notice that Boston...
Crazy how much ice there is on trees. Jesus. Yeah. This is a pretty good like visual demonstration of what freezing rain looks like, I guess, right? Where it lands and then it instantly freezes because the branch is super cold, or it lands on more ice and it just keeps like layering on top of itself.
The weight of the ice out here. Jeez.
So far, so good, Nuts. Americans do have a instinctual desire to die in car accidents. That is true. Oh yeah, it's knocking all the branches down, like the weight of the ice. They said they're supposed to explode, though. Yeah, when if the water inside of a tree trunk freezes, depending on the type of tree, eventually the expansion of the ice can cause the wood to buckle and the tree explodes outwards. And yeah, that can get you. I mean, that could kill you if you're really unlucky. More likely, it'll just scare the shit out of you as you hear a bomb go off in the forest in your backyard.
Scenes like this are throughout Oxford. Trees snapping, the smell of timber in the air. And I can hear pops in the distance as well as the branches and trees continue to fall. And these are going to fall on structures. They can also threaten life out here. very dangerous conditions in Oxford. There you can see all the snapped trees.
His fucking
This is
hat. I
nuts.
wouldn't go out in this weather unless I had a hat like this. I wouldn't go out here in like a beanie.
Very heavy. You can definitely feel the weight of the ice out here. You can see the power grid under the weight of 1 to 2 inches of ice accretion with thunder, freezing rain happening.
Oh boy.
Those power lines, folks.
Well,
Big time ice on that.
power infrastructure should be able to withstand some pretty heavy additional weight. Like a little bit of extra ice. Well, it can make it more brittle.
This will show you the thickness of the ice. Taking down everything out here.
God damn, that is pretty. Look at that. So is Texas power grid fucked yet? There are power outages all across the country right now.
Wow. Let me see how thick it is. Very thick ice.
I can't believe he's not wearing
1 to
gloves.
2 inches. You can smell the broken trees out here.
And Ted Cruz ran away. Yes, Ted Cruz immediately fled to Cancun or whatever. In the head of the ice storm, just like last time. He's so funny. It's just very fascinating. I'm sorry. I want to watch more on this, you know? Especially from a Canadian perspective, because they're getting it worse than we are.
The waiting is over. Overnight, that massive winter storm starting to ramp up. This Ring camera video showing heavy snow falling in Oklahoma City amid gusty winds. Farther east in Pryor...
That was Mississippi. Oh, no. It's the whole, like, western... Yeah, it's like a lot of the United States. It's getting everyone, man.
Oklahoma, a virtual whiteout. Overnight, the monster Arctic blast surging into the south and stretching up to the northeast. This Delta jet buffeted by heavy winds as it landed at the airport in Rochester, New York on Friday. Meantime, this morning, parts of Texas are covered in ice, and governors of 17 states have announced emergency declarations. Part of the massive system threatening to grind life to a halt for millions of Americans who rarely see this crippling cold. With wind chill.
What? Is the water's freezing as it I don't think I've ever seen that before. The water as it crests over the sand, it freezes even though it's salt water. I don't think I've ever seen that before. And like the mist that that's really cool looking.
See this crippling cold, with wind chills plummeting to minus 31 degrees in Chicago.
America's such a wild place. People like this. It doesn't get discussed enough. America is very cold. It's like the Gulf Stream shit. I don't know the science or whatever. America is like way like, or maybe it's like it's not America is cold. Europe is very warm. Like even though most of Europe is north of most of America, we're far colder than you guys are on average. The Gulf Stream protects Europe. Yeah, for now. The Gulf Stream collapse is long prophesized.
And in Duluth, a staggering 51 below.
I feel like this one's going to be worse than we expect.
Cable and internet crews trying to get ahead of potential outages as governors urge people to stay home.
Our greatest concerns remain unsafe travel and power outages that could last for days.
Frigid air dropping below freezing in Texas overnight. This was the scene here in Dallas Friday. Relentless rain soaking the region, now turning to damaging ice. The rain has been coming down here all day in Dallas, and when it collides with that Arctic blast, it could make travel treacherous and threaten power all across the region. The region has been bracing for days for the rare winter wallop. The urgent scramble for supplies selling out propane, sand, and salt at Dallas hardware stores.
The last couple of days have really been crazy. I mean, yesterday was the busiest day we've had.
And last-minute shoppers filling grocery stores and emptying shelves from Oklahoma to New York.
This could last a week, before you can get out of your house. You know, it could. You better stock up a little bit if you have any money.
To a rice and beans fella such as myself, I wouldn't even need to do anything. I'm already stocked up for a month.
There you go. Bracing for the extreme cold outside, layering up herself and the dogs. Dog walker Helga Oyang says she's prepared.
I mean, it's Canada. What do you expect, right?
God bless you, lady. You're cool as hell.
With parts of Canada plunging into a polar vortex, frosty temperatures are settling in and expected to continue. Some regions feeling as low as -50 degrees Celsius with wind chill. Environment Canada cautioned those who work outside to take breaks indoors.
Frostbite is a concern when we talk about wind chill.
Really?
Wind chill values of -30 and below. Skin exposed to the air can develop frostbite as quickly as 30 minutes.
My zipper broke off my jacket. It was so cold out, man.
Yep.
Manitoba, Saskatchewan,
You
and
said
parts
it.
of Ontario, Labrador, and Nunavut are now under
Nunavut.
extreme weather alerts, impacting millions of people, and shelters across those provinces are now gearing up for an influx of visitors.
During the extreme cold alert is going on right now, we actually allow community members to come in to warm up outside of those drop-in hours and outside of the shelter hours.
But the polar vortex is also driving weather south of the border, as a fierce weekend winter storm is set to reach all the way from the Rockies to New England. At least 160 million people in its path, with more than a dozen states declaring a state of emergency.
This is a very dangerous combination of heavy snow and extreme cold temperatures.
Power crews are working overtime, workers salting roads, and grocery.
Bosch sitting pretty in Seattle. Listen, it's not my fault that God made the American West Coast the promised land, okay? The Neo Garden of Eden. Perfect temperate weather all the time, as long as you avoid the droughts in the southern part. Can't help it. Over 10,000 flights have been canceled. See, a lot of these videos kind of cover the same stuff.
What's happening right now, Toronto and much of GTHA are dealing with a major snowfall, potentially bringing as much as 40 centimeters of snow. Here's a look at the highways as we speak. You can see the accumulation that is building up. Not seeing any road crews there right now. No emergency crews either, which is a good thing. Environment Canada has issued an orange warning for the GTHA and much of southern Ontario.
What's going to happen to the homeless? Well, Mamdani has opened 2 warming centers in every bureau across New York City. Either a city will have warming centers, they will be well dressed, or they just die. Winter storms have usually been the big culling event for homeless in the United States, at least. It's also the reason why there are so many more homeless people in the West Coast than there are over on the East Coast, like Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego, and stuff, because you can survive winters in the West Coast, you know, even if you're pretty lightly dressed. But not so in New York City.
Meaning that this storm could bring significant long-lasting impacts. Winds could gust up to 50 kilometers an hour. It's going to reduce visibility on the roads. Also bring the wind chill to feeling like -21. Feels like -19 right now. Officials are telling people, drive with caution, allow for extra time, make sure you top up your washer fluid, and if possible, if you like, stay at home.
I'm happy because he is in the house. I just moved into a condo, which is great.
Less work?
Yes.
Do you like the snow, though? Driving in it, walking in it?
Well, walking and it's not a problem. Just the freezing rain I don't like. But the snow itself is fine.
It makes me feel warning, you know. I'm scared, to be honest, because I have my shower prepared, you know, so I have to work today and tomorrow.
I'm excited, totally excited.
Why?
Because I'm from Siberia, and from Siberia, meaning I like Canada, I like snow. That's all I like.
It's a crazy world out there, man. It's a crazy, crazy world. Okay, this is the last video I'm watching on this. I don't know. It's fascinating.
Live look at Dallas from our affiliate KTVT. Near Pittsburgh, the heaviest snow is yet to come, but but forecasters say some areas could see a foot of snow before the storm tapers off tomorrow.
Buddy, you have to put gloves on. You cannot be doing this shit with no gloves. That's like, people always, people are like, yo, why am I miserable every time it gets cold? And they're not wearing gloves. You like, it's not like a toughness thing. It doesn't matter how fit you are or how resilient you are. You don't get much blood flow in your hands. You need to wear gloves. Honestly, we should probably be wearing gloves or at least have hand warmer pockets anytime it's like 50 or colder. Just, why not? Right? Probably hand warmer pockets rather than gloves, or yeah, the hand warming like thingamajigs, mittens, whatever the fuck you want. Just, you know, you have to keep your hands warm.
This is what people awakened to this morning in Austin, Texas.
Good
Ice
socks
and
too, yeah.
snow blanketing the city as the worst of the storm blew through the region overnight. In Florence, Alabama, first responders found themselves in need of help. Their fire truck slid off the ice-covered road. No one was hurt,
Jesus.
And an industrial tow team was able to pull it free. In the south,
The
freezing
shit wagon, evenly spreading a thin layer of shit across the road.
Industrial tow team was able to pull it free. In the south, freezing rain has been the big problem. This is Clarksville, Tennessee. The state has seen more than half an inch of ice, causing widespread power outages. Indeed, across the U.S. right now, more than 900,000 homes and businesses are without power. Tennessee makes up almost a third of that. We're following all these late-breaking developments of this very, very dangerous monster storm.
Is that noise necessary?
CNN's Gloria Pazmino is on the scene for us in New York right now. CNN meteorologist Allison Chinchar is over at the CNN Weather Center. Let's begin with you, Gloria. What is New York experiencing right now?
Well, Wolf, I just want to show you very quickly. If we turn around right now, I know you're a Buffalo guy, but people are out here enjoying the conditions. This guy just strapped on his skis and is going for a walk in Central Park. And as you can see, there's a lot of people here. Even though I just spoke to Mayor Zohran Mamdani a few hours ago, and he was telling me he really is asking New Yorkers to stay inside. The reason for that is so that sanitation workers can get to work clearing the roads, cleaning up the sidewalks. So far, so good, he told me. The city has significantly increased the number of workers. Take a listen.
Nice.
We had initially had 2,000 DSNY workers for every 12-hour shift. That's now gone up to 2,500 people per 12-hour shift. We're seeing a lot of their work in advance of the storm being critical in helping us meet this moment. We are frankly seeing too many New Yorkers still out on the roads. That's actually impeding the ability for sanitation to meet this moment. So the more people stay home, the more work our city workers can actually get done.
Well, also important here in New York City, the mayor announced earlier today that tomorrow the city schools, the public schools will be closed. The buildings will be closed, but students will be doing remote learning. That's big news for families.
The New York Post put out a headline where they called him, what was it, No Fun Mamdani? Because he wouldn't call a snow day and let all the students not go to school.
And parents who, of course, need the time to be able to plan starting into the work week tomorrow. I also spoke to a handful of New Yorkers this morning, Wolf. You know, not much keeps people inside their home, and there's a lot of people trying to take in the scenery, trying to take in the storm, taking pictures, including one man who told me this morning he ran 7 miles. Take a listen.
Why not? I mean, this is beautiful. I feel like when it snows, everything kind of slows down. Everything's calm. The city gets quiet. Looks like manageable right now.
Are you well prepared, fully stocked?
Yeah, we are. We did the grocery shopping. We got the car all taken care of, put in the garage. It's crazy out here.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it.
You're sick of it?
Yeah.
Too cold.
Too cold.
Everyone wants to be the guy on local news, or I guess in this case, national news, being like, yeah, man, I love it out here. Minus 10 degrees or whatever. It's great. Actually, it's like, what, like minus 20, however cold it is here. But do you have the courage to be the guy who just complains?
So, Wolf, we are still expecting several more hours of snowfall, and the big question going into the evening will, of course, be the cleanup. A bit of a new test and a new challenge for this new administration from the new mayor. But so far, so good from what we have been seeing around on the roads here in Manhattan. Wolf?
A lot of snow in New York City right now. All right, Gloria, thank you very much. I want to step back and get the big picture right now. Our meteorologist, Allison Chinchar, is over at the...
It does get remarkably quiet when it's snowing out, though. Yeah, snow is just a a very good sound insulator. That's why people want to die when it's snowy so much, right? Like, this is the perfect place to bleed out and die because it's quiet.
CNN Weather Center for us. Allison, what are you seeing? What does it look like?
All right, so we've got a little bit of everything, Wolf. You've got your rain, you've got your snow, you've got your ice, and even the potential for tornadoes, because this is a very extreme storm system as it continues to make its way off to the north and east. You can see heavy snow right now across portions of Boston, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, even across Youngstown, Ohio. Stretching down to the south, we're starting to see those temperatures warming back up, so the change over into rain for some folks in Alabama and Georgia and even Florida. But you've also got some thunderstorms down across the extreme south. This is where we have the potential for tornadoes going through the rest of the afternoon and early evening. This tornado watch is in effect until 6 p.m. Central Time today, as we could expect some of those stronger thunderstorms along the southern fringe of that line. Farther north, though, those temperatures are much cooler. That's why you're getting more of the winter precipitation. You have several still that are kind of right there along that freezing mark, so it's a little bit of a mix. Sometimes snow, sometimes freezing rain or sleet. But farther north, where the temperatures are well below freezing, this is where we're getting the snow. And that dark purple color, that's where you're talking about the incredibly heavy bands of snow. Now, where we've had a lot of significant icing, this is where you're seeing some of those highest power outage numbers. But we do expect to see some additional colors popping on this map, especially farther east and farther north as the storm system continues to progress for the day today. Looking at some of these ice amounts, it's no wonder you have such high power outages. Look at this, Brentwood, Tennessee.
10 years ago, the second greatest, 10 years before that, but it looks like this one's going to break the streak of just epic 2-3 feet of snow on years that end in 6, but still enough to get the families out under the Manhattan Bridge. We don't get a lot of vertical drop in Brooklyn, so this is one of the key sledding hills here as well. You can't even see Manhattan across the East River in this whiteout condition here, but we've got thousands of snowplows on the streets of New York City, 700 salt.
Apparently the Potomac's frozen over. That's got to be pretty.
Snow bands have set up into southern Indiana and into south central Ohio. That's taking a look at the latest radar here on my graphics, and it's pretty clear to see that as well. But this system is not done, and it's impacting so many states, like Bill rightly said. But what I found very interesting is that there was lightning in the ice that was falling from the sky from central Mississippi into western Tennessee. Now, the temperature difference between where I'm at, Louisville, about, what is it right now? It looks
Why does freezing rain lead to power outages? Because the water freezes on contact with the surface that it hits, so it hits power infrastructure and freezes over it, which can cause it to collapse or sometimes can interfere with it in other ways.
like 15 degrees according to my graphics. Just to our south in Nashville, it's 31 degrees. And those temperature difference between 100 miles or so is all the difference between what type of precipitation we're getting. Because Nashville, they got a ½ inch of ice. Meanwhile, we have sleet. And that's kind of that granular type ice pellets that you see here. So this is going to reduce the overall snowfall totals here because there's a warm layer of temperature just above us here at the surface. But let's walk around because I want to show you the streets largely deserted. Heads up, Stu, there's a curb there, but you can see the snow has covered the roads. Difficult travel conditions. There's a stalled out vehicle.
Because power lines in the U.S. are overground. Give us a little bit of credit, okay? The United States is a very, very large country. And a lot of our expansion took place, like a significant amount of our nation's expansion took place very rapidly to the west and in areas that are very, very, very sparsely populated. So, no, you don't get any credit? Okay, okay. There are some underground, there are some cities that have underground cables, okay? It's just that, you know, it's hard to maintain across the whole... Why don't you bury your power lines? Like, what's the advantage? Because that's expensive! Do you have any idea how big the American Great Plains are? The infinite fucking everything across the Colorados? They're massive! We would have to lay it all down again. It would cost hundreds of billions. Mind you, I think it would be worth it in the long run. Not to mention, it also makes maintenance more expensive in the long run. Keep that in mind. It's not just the upfront cost. Now, if there's an issue, you need to go there and dig it up and deal with it like that. Underground power lines are also bad for earthquakes. It can set the gas lines on fire. That's a good point. Does Europe even get earthquakes? Like America does. The American West Coast gets mega earthquakes, right? I don't think Europe gets earthquakes. I don't think they've ever had them. It's a big problem in Japan. We're not talking about Japan. Southern Europe does. That doesn't count. Anyway. That doesn't count. Come on, come on, come on. All right. We have to do real news. Oh, this is CNN Live. They wouldn't have the VOD of the ICE press conference. Well, fuck this. I don't know what they're doing here. Avant-garde bullshit. They're not even showing the video.
CNN's Tom Foreman is here to walk us through what we're hearing from federal officials, but also what the videos show, including the new videos, because what they are saying and what the videos are showing are not always the same thing, Tom.
Yeah, very much. I want to start with the very first statement made by the Trump administration in the aftermath of this shooting. It was a tweet by the Department of Homeland Security showing a firearm on what appears to be the seat of a car, and the tweet reads,
riveting stuff.
in 15 seconds.
The information that we have from the
press, they encountered some.
If they didn't do it with Renee Nicole Good. When you're surrounded by that many people, right? I mean, when regular people get put into a scrum, you can understand all of the not knowing what's going on, right? But these aren't regular people. These are
a scrum.
Here with me now is U.S. Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Greg Bovino. Thank you.
I really can't get over how much he looks like a butch lesbian. It's crazy. Why does he look like that? He's also like 5'3". It's so, and the way he dresses. He's so short, and he's with his Nazi regalia.
For being here. Sir, you are still in Minneapolis, and I want to get to a lot of questions that we have that are unanswered. First and foremost is that Alex Preddy approached Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. I want to go back to one of the videos, and I know you can see it there, and I want to ask you about what you're seeing, because multiple angles of this incident show him holding up a cell phone and recording it, not a gun. Did he at any point pull out his weapon?
Dana, good morning, and thanks for having me. The weapon, and we do know that the suspect did bring a weapon, a loaded 9mm high-capacity handgun.
High capacity, Jesus Christ. They're talking like MSNBC hosts. High capacity. Oh my God. So much for the Second fucking Amendment.
To a riot. We do know that. As far as what happened in that intervening moment with the video that you just showed, that's going to come to light through the investigation. That's being investigated, and those facts and those questions will be answered soon enough.
Okay, but the Homeland Security Secretary is not waiting for that investigation to take place before saying that Alex Preddy was, quote, brandishing a weapon. Let's go to video 7, because, of course, you know this far better than I. The definition of brandishing is waving or flourishing something, especially a weapon, as a threat or an anger and excitement. That's just a still photo of what Alex Preddy appears to.
I don't understand what the point of these confrontations are from the perspective of the media when the forces that be, the deep state, prevents you from accusing them of lying. Like, the headline post right now from the Associated Press is videos of deadly Minneapolis shooting contradict government statements, which is the lightest possible way that you can say the government is lying. What more can you say? Evidence contradicts government narrative? Like, what? How do you make that more on the nose, you know? What is the point of doing this if you can't just say they're lying? I know there are people in the audience right now who are thinking, oh, what a bold step or whatever, like you're European, you're British or something. In America, the news is allowed to accuse politicians of lying. There is no legal... The Trump administration could not successfully sue them in court. If Trump wanted to sue them, he could sue them anyway. In America, you can file civil suits for any reason whatsoever. You, right now, an American, could file a civil suit against anyone for any reason.
Be holding, there is nothing that we have seen that showed him, as Secretary Noem said, brandishing a
CNN,
weapon.
always with CNN's
Have you,
videos.
sir, seen something different to support what the secretary said?
Dan, I think what we
The mainstream media used the word lie in headlines to accuse Kamala Harris of lying when she said Trump would deploy the U.S. military against civilians domestically. That's true. Kamala Harris did not have the protection of the deep state the way that Donald Trump does.
need to take a look at here is the situation in its totality. What happened leading up to this situation? The suspect decided to inject himself into a law enforcement action. What's not being said here.
Better than the Bush era, you could not call out lies for 8 years straight. That is not true, man. Especially towards the end of the Bush era. Like, obviously, there was the big Iraq war surge, but towards the end of the Bush era, the liberal media, they were calling him and his administration liars all the time, like nonstop. But they do not do it against Trump, even though Trump is more dishonest than any president we've ever had by orders of magnitude.
Is the fact that Border Patrol agents and law enforcement were conducting a targeted law enforcement effort against a violent, illegal alien that was nearby, and that suspect injected himself into that law enforcement situation with a weapon.
God, look at that charisma. Another freak of the DHS who has been here for decades and decades.
And what happened between when that situation first came about and the shooting, that's going to be investigated, and we're going to get to the facts of that.
Well, you said yesterday that this looks like a situation where the individual wanted to do maximum.
What explains that? I've explained this before, but I'll keep saying it because I genuinely think it explains so much of why the media acts the way it does, okay? America is, right now, and always has been, ruled by an alliance of oligarchical and corporate interests who, by and large, want money and power. But there's a difference between the corporatists and the oligarchs. The corporatists are like your hedge fund manager types. They want the numbers to keep ticking up in a predictable fashion so they can make sound investments. They just want the money. Think of them like old money types, right? Like they want their nice New York City penthouse. They want to live a quiet life of luxury. They want to have their dinners, with the powerful people. It's like they want everything to run smoothly. Oligarchs want to be the main characters of the world. They don't just want to be the silent powers that be. They want to be like the guys on top. Think of them like Elon Musk, Bezos. It's not just a reflection of their wealth. It's a reflection of their intent. Peter Thiel is not like the wealthiest guy in the world. He's obscenely wealthy, but there are many people wealthier than him. But Peter Thiel, more than anything, has a God complex, right? Like, Peter Thiel is not defined by his wealth. There are people worth many times more than what he's worth. He's defined by his political aspirations and his desire to be a god. I think that at the end of the day, what the media is willing to get away with, or what they think they can get away with, really comes down to how that, conglomeration of interests, how they perceive the powers that be and what they think the media should be allowed to do or say, how well they think they can use that presidential candidate as a vessel. I think that corporatists historically have always been 50-50 on Republicans and Democrats because for the most part, the system keeps running fine regardless of who's in charge, right? It could be Clinton, it could be Bush Sr., it could be Bush Jr., it could be Reagan, whatever. The stock market goes up, you have your bumps and your dips. In the long run, everything evens out, right? But the oligarchs who want everything, and everything, they want everything in the world, everything, right? Elon he wants to own Mars, man. Like, they want everything. For them, Trump is the guy, because only Trump is audacious enough to give them the cover that they need to take what they want. Trump offers them something unique that can't really be replicated by other administrations. It's also historically why business magnates have fallen behind fascists. Even though Weimar Germany would have still produced massive economic returns for the business owners in Germany, right? Like, it's not as though business owners in Weimar Germany weren't making money, you know? In the long run, Hitler's Germany would end up ruining their businesses, of course. A lot of them would end up getting literally bombed out or acquired by the Allies. But a lot of these people, they want everything. And Kamala Harris can never offer them everything, you know? Biden can never offer them anything. Neither could Bush or any of those guys. Trump is the only person who is aggressive enough and leads an administration crazy enough to potentially set them up for this. Is there anything you think would lead to Dems or media freaking out appropriately? No, I think these people are completely captured. I don't think there's that. If there ever is a big turn against Trump, it will be because the powers that be have dropped them. I think that these people would defend or legitimize or justify literally anything. They will always follow their orders. If they turn against Trump, it will be because they were told they could.
Damage and massacre law enforcement. What evidence do you have that he wanted to massacre law enforcement? Because all the videos that we have, and I do want to, we just have a still shot up now, but I do, control room, want to play one of the other videos. Let's play video number 1 again.
Why would a journalist willingly work in a culture like this? To make money? I don't know what you mean. They get to be powerful, wealthy, well-connected. What do you, same reason anyone... The honest journalists do not make it very far in this industry. I've been having a lot of meetings with politicians. They all seem so retarded on this. They seem to think they're helpless. Of course they do, because they understand what they're up against. They understand that, like, all it would take would be for them to fall into disfavor, for all of their funding to dry up, for everything to turn against them. Look at how hard Mamdani had to work in order to overcome the powers that be set against him. You know, every day of his candidacy, every day of his campaign, you wake up 1,000 media personalities are calling him anti-Semitic. From the moderators of his fucking debate asking him incredulously if he would go to Israel, to the people covering him, to random like NBC, ABC, CNN, MSNBC reporters saying weird shit like he's betraying Jewish New Yorkers for not supporting their president, even though they're not Israeli. It's deep state shit, man. It's not just everyone randomly being incompetent or biased in the same direction. They have marching orders. What we're seeing right now in CBS News is just a stupid, low IQ version of what's been playing out all across the news for decades, right? You see Barry Weiss being put in charge as a czar over CBS News, directly overriding and contradicting the will of the people beneath her, appointing her own toadies to run CBS late night evening news, to run with like state approved media narratives. All we're seeing in CBS is just a more obvious, open version of the corruption that's taken place in other institutions before, you know?
It doesn't look anything like he's trying to massacre law enforcement. In fact, he was filming, and then it looked like he was trying to help another individual there who was pushed down by law enforcement, and then they went after him.
In fact, I believe that the fantastic...
They're going to get us killed, man. They don't care. They want you dead. They don't give a shit, man. They get paid lots and lots and lots and lots of money to do what they do.
Training that our law enforcement partners have, the fact that they're highly trained, prevented any specific shootings of law enforcement. So good job for our law enforcement in taking him down before he was able to do that. And again, Dana, let's look at why he was there in the first place. Was he simply walking by and just happened to walk into a law enforcement situation and try to direct traffic and stand in the middle of the road and then assault, delay, and obstruct law enforcement? Or was he there for a reason? Did he fall victim to that violent and heated rhetoric by a Mayor Fry, a Governor Walz? Look, Dana, they're trying to portray Border Patrol agents and ICE agents as Gestapo, Nazi, and many other words. Did this individual fall victim, as many others have, to that type of heated rhetoric?
I want to stay focused on this incident right now, because what you were saying is that he went there to try to stop this law enforcement operation. All of the video that we have seen shows him documenting it with his cell phone, which is a lawful thing to do. And the only time he seemed to interact with law enforcement is when they went after him.
Why would he say that? Because he knows that she can't call him a liar. I mean, I guess ultimately that's the reason why the Trump administration people still feel comfortable going to the media, even though they have really difficult to defend cases, which is just like they know that they're protected.
He was trying to help an individual who law enforcement pushed down. So where do you have the evidence to show that he was trying to impede that that law enforcement operation?
Sure, Dan, at first he was there in the scene. He was in the scene actively impeding and assaulting law enforcement to the point.
But that's not illegal. He wasn't
Dana,
impeding it. He was filming it, which is a legal thing to do in the United States of America.
Dan, let's don't freeze frame adjudicate this now. He was there for a reason.
Let's not look at the evidence now. We're inferring his intent.
And that reason was to impede law enforcement to the point.
What evidence do you have of that?
And here's a good point, Dana, is the fact that de-escalation techniques were utilized during this action. Those de-escalation
like
techniques,
shooting him in the
whether
head.
it was physically trying to remove them from that law enforcement scene, that active law enforcement scene in which law enforcement were going after a violent illegal alien, or the use of pepper spray, which is another de-escalation technique. Those techniques did not work. Officers always try to use the minimum amount of force necessary to either effect an arrest, which in this case was more than likely 18 U.S.C. 111.
This playing over the part in the video where he gets shot in the face 10 times. Vosh, this is not working for him. It's really not. Again, nobody's being convinced by this, but I think it's important to watch this because knowing how corrupt and complicit our media is an important part of the recovery process.
Assault on a federal officer or
Where did he assault?
obstruct.
Where did he assault a federal officer in any of the video that you have seen? Because it looked to us from every angle, sir, that he was approached by them when he was helping another individual who was pushed down. What evidence do you have that he was assaulting any law enforcement?
Dana, we don't need a suspect's help in an active law enforcement scene.
When you say
we don't need
suspect,
his help.
what is
We
he
didn't ask
suspected
his
of?
help. That's an active law enforcement scene. He knew that was an active law enforcement scene, especially.
Sometime we should go back to like older CNN interview footage from a couple of years ago to watch them interview Biden officials to remind ourselves of the fact that they are in fact capable of making direct accusations, and they are in fact capable of accusing you of lying, of being abrasive, combative, and they are simply choosing not to do all this, making a willful choice every day to do none of those things to Biden officials.
When the officers approached him, and it's very evident he did not need to be where he was, and he
when
decided
somebody
on his own to stay there.
So when somebody is pushed down and a person's instinct is to help that person, when somebody's pushed down by law enforcement, you're saying that you just stand back and let law enforcement do what they're doing? I mean, is that really human nature?
It doesn't seem like Dana's trying to defend him here. Are you being fair? Yes, I am. I'm sorry. If you do not think that what she's doing here is apologia, then you're delusional, and I don't know what to say about that. Or maybe you've forgotten what the media is capable of doing when they've decided they actually don't like a candidate. She's just asking questions. He is openly, obviously, like, I don't know what, like, if it was Trump called the sky green and you had a picture of the sky being blue, what do you? The picture would seem to indicate. I don't know. I don't know what you want. Like it. It's just apologia. Asking questions. Just say, you're a fucking liar. Well, she can't say fucking. You're a liar. We all know this is a lie. Everyone seeing this video, nobody's being convinced by this. Why? How many Americans are you going to kill? She can say that. You know, she's allowed. They're allowed to have opinions. And we know, by the way, that she thinks this is a cold-blooded murder. Otherwise, she wouldn't be doing any of this. What she's doing right now is following explicit orders from people above her who have told her that you cannot accuse them of lying no matter what.
You know, Dana, every situation is different. What our officers are faced with here in Minneapolis are chaotic, very difficult and violent situations in which individuals, and this suspect is not the only one to bring a loaded weapon to a riot. The situations are chaotic and ever-changing. Follow directions for law enforcement. Don't inject yourself knowingly beforehand.
What are the consequences an American journalist can face for confronting a government official? None. There are no legal consequences. You can do it. They used to do it all the time.
Into a law enforcement situation.
With respect, it feels as though in some ways you're blaming the victim here.
No, like look at this. Does this not sound to you like a person working with every tool in a playbook that has prevented her from saying the truth? It feels like you're blaming the victim. He's explicitly with respect. With respect, it seems like you're saying he's at fault. That's all he's been saying the whole time.
The victims are the Border Patrol agents. I'm not blaming the Border Patrol agents. The victim are the Border Patrol agents. The suspect put himself in that situation. The victims are the Border Patrol agents there.
I want to go back to the gun, sir, because I think this
Sir, just going to let that slide.
is really, really critical. You can see an agent, and I just want to go to, let's see here, video 5. You can see a screenshot of an agent in a green jacket approach Preddy, and then he appeared to take a gun away. When the agent took the gun away, which it seems as though it was Preddy.
It feels like Vosh is blaming the reporter. You would be correct. I am blaming the reporter. She is part of a massive multimedia enterprise, a coalition of forces that have been silenced, muzzled by their capital owners to prevent them from meaningfully criticizing the administration. She is following the same orders that Schumer does when Schumer says that he would not restrict ICE, that every MSNBC agents or pundit says when they say that they oppose ICE in this form, or that this version of ICE needs to be defunded. They're all following the exact same orders. The powers that be do not want any fundamental shakeups here. What we will see after Trump is gone is this: moderate rollbacks on the worst extremes, but the underlying infrastructure will remain. If you think this version of the Democratic Party is going to cut ICE's funding, you're delusional. They might moderately reduce it, but how many years has military or police funding gone down in this country or in any city? Seriously, go look at your city. Go look at any city. Take a look at the police budget. How many years has it increased over the previous versus how many years has it decreased below the previous? What about the military budget? These things only go one way, man. They only go one way. Power and wealth accumulates in the hands of people who have the power and wealth to drive more towards them. Major shareholder of CNN complaining about left-wing bias in the network? Yeah. All wealthy people are like this. John Malone, major shareholder in CNN parent company, reiterates complaint network has embedded liberal bias, like how an awful lot of us white folks say we're not biased about blacks. Thank you, Todd Spangler. Thank you. That's great, man. Oh, wait, sorry. No, that's the article writer. My bad. I blacked out for a second. Thank you, John Malone. 84-year-old billionaire. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Major shareholder in Warner Bros. Discovery, which owns CNN. Mm-hmm. Yep. At least he'll die soon. I promise you that the company that holds the key to his assets is not any better intention than he is. Probably a pedo as well. Almost certainly a pedophile, yes.
Preddy's gun. That happened before Preddy was shot. Why was an unarmed man shot multiple times by law enforcement, by your Border Patrol agents?
Dana, you don't know he was unarmed. I don't know he was unarmed.
Yeah, this guy's got quite a... He was the CEO of Telecommunications Incorporated, a cable and media giant from 1973 to 1996. He is the chairman and largest voting shareholder of Liberty Media, Liberty Global, Warner Brothers Discovery, and Curate Retail Group, formerly known as Liberty Interactive. He once owned 7% of Lionsgate and Starz Incorporated. He was interim CEO of Liberty Media until succeeded by former Microsoft and Oracle CFO Greg Maffei in 2005. And for 10 years, he was the largest private landowner in the United States, owning 2.2 million acres. So just, again, Never. You need to recognize these CNN pundits and all these politicians as what they are. Okay, they're pawns on a chessboard. All right, they are all following orders. There are very, 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 very few people in American politics today, from the media side or the politics side, who are not completely beholden to them.
It's freeze frame adjudication of a crime scene via a photo. That's why we have investigators. That's why we have an investigation that is going to answer those questions. How many shots were fired? Who fired shots? Where was the guns? Where were the guns located? All those questions are going to be answered.
I think you can see the screen.
In the investigation. We're not going to adjudicate that here on TV in one freeze frame there.
Okay, it's not a freeze frame. We're showing a video of one of your agents taking the gun away, and that happened before Preddy was shot.
Before long, even this degree of resistance will be sandblasted off of CNN. What you're seeing right now is her resisting the administration to the extent she's been given the permission to. But soon, even this will be gone. It'll be like CBS. All media will be state media, as CBS is now. This is the liberal bias that Malone was talking about. It's unacceptable to him.
We don't know that agent was taking any gun away. That could have been the agent's, because we don't know that. The facts are going to come to light.
So you're disputing the video, that that's what happened?
With an investigation. That's why we investigate.
Well, with respect, you say that's why we investigate, but you're also drawing other conclusions that sort of fly in the face of waiting for an investigation. I just want to also go back to what I was asking about with regard to what Secretary Noem said, that he was brandishing a gun. At any point, do you have any evidence that, yes, he had a gun on his person? Was he brandishing it? Was he a threat because he had a gun in
Oh, shit, are they actually calling the lie? No, of course not. She's just asking questions. Why would you ask that? Why would you ever think she would ever make a statement as direct as accusing Bovino of lying?
Hand that put law enforcement in danger?
Danny, we heard the law enforcement officer say gun, gun, gun. So at some point, they knew there was a gun. So again, that is going to be part of that investigation as to what was happening on the ground there between those victims, the Border Patrol agent victims, and the suspect.
Both the police chief in Minneapolis, O'Hara, and Governor Walz say Preddy was legally licensed to carry a concealed weapon. So are you saying...
The only thing we can really be thankful for, I think, is the fact that they have been so incompetent in this mainstream media acquisition process that people are increasingly distrusting these networks, even from the sides that typically agree with them. Or to put it another way, their acquisition of CBS, for the most part, alienated CBS viewers. Their acquisition of CNN, MSNBC, NBC, all of these networks, for the most part, people aren't getting their news from them anymore. And a large part of them is this. I'm being serious when I say that you are doing more for democracy, freedom, and journalism if you go on Twitter and retweet a Connor Eats Pants hate tweet under a JD Vance tweet than anyone working at CNN does. Like, CNN does nothing. They do less than nothing. You through bullying and harassment, you are accomplishing more in the service of truth than you could ever do right now on CNN while following the orders of your masters. I was just scrolling through my feed. I saw this and I thought it was funny. The extent to which the deep state acquisition of the narrative, it extends so far beyond mainstream media. Nick Fuentes yesterday tweeted that ICE has nothing to do with Israel. In his desire to, I don't know, replace Kirk and be a regime shill, denying the obvious and straightforward link between support for Israel and support for the ICE crackdown on the United States, the Israelification of the United States. He's pretending there's no connection between the two. The lure of the deep state pulls to everyone. ICE is Israel, and Israel is ICE. As Mamdani said, or I'm paraphrasing, but if you feel the boot of an ICE officer on your throat, know that IDF laced that boot. You probably saw it, but he's also wearing the Epstein jacket now. Yeah. I mean, obviously, the legalizing pedophilia has always been part of the right-wing project, but also to a large extent, it's just shock jockey attention getting. Myron Gaines went live in a KKK hood. It doesn't matter. It's uninteresting and not even worth analysis. You know, people unmarried, no children, desperate for attention. Nick said Epstein was a cool Chad. Imagine your whole conspiracy theory being through Israel, a Jewish elite control the United States through like their financial and political connections. And then on the one time you have it, Epstein, the Jewish Israeli linked conspirator with financial and economic connections that stretch across the United States. You're like, nah, he was fine. Imagine. Anyway, I guess the point that I'm making here is that life gets a lot easier once you accept the warm basking glow of the deep state. Once, if you learn to stop fighting it and you accept that these people own the world and you're just going to run along with it, you get to keep your cool CNN gig, you know? Nick Fuentes will probably get folded into the Republican Party to some extent, you know, along with other people who are willing to ignore the obvious connections. They have chosen to love Big Brother? Really? Really, truly?
It's not okay for him to exercise his Second Amendment right, not to mention his First Amendment right to be there in the first place, but his Second Amendment right to carry a gun. And if you do, you can be shot by federal law enforcement.
No, I didn't say that, Dana. I never said that. What I'm saying is we respect that Second Amendment right, but those rights don't count when you riot and assault, delay, obstruct, and impede law enforcement officers, and most especially when you mean to do that beforehand.
How do you know that?
When you mean to do that beforehand, when you show up to an active crime scene, don't leave the crime scene, and you're armed, then you know you've got the decision-making process for that individual doesn't seem to be very good. Now, back to the Second Amendment, what you're saying about
they're so fucking bad. He's so fucking dumb.
Second Amendment is peacefully protesting with firearms. Absolutely, I've done that myself, and fully support that. But not when you perpetrate violence, obstruct, delay, or obfuscate Border Patrol in the performance of their duties in an
There is
active
no
crime
evidence
scene.
that he was perpetrating violence. And there's no evidence, unless you have it, and we'd love to see it if there is, that he was intending to
So polite, so nice. Everything out of her mouth, man. We'd love to see it if there is. Could you, sir, respectfully, could you please provide evidence to the claim that not only have you refused to substantiate, but is also just flatly disproven by the video we've had looping on the right of the screen?
massacre law enforcement, other than the fact that he was there and he had a gun lawfully?
He meant to be there beforehand. Again, Dana, he
He meant to be there beforehand. Jesus fucking Christ, man. No, you don't understand. This wasn't a First Amendment protected protest, which only takes place when you put a blindfold on and randomly wander before taking it off and protesting where you stand. He intended to be where he stood.
Beforehand.
How do you know that?
A reason.
How do you know that?
Because he was there.
But all he
Because
was doing
there.
was filming
It's
and
very
documenting
evident.
it.
How do you know he intended? What? This is retarded on both fronts. How do you know he meant to be there? Because he was there. This wasn't a regular protest. This was a planned protest. He knew he was going to be there. How did you know he knew he was going to be there? He knew he was going to be there because he was there. CNN. CNN, folks. She's still making him look very bad here? No, she's not. She's just not. I'm sorry, like, to us, yeah, because there's a video playing that disproves what he's saying, but she's not doing or saying anything here. In all likelihood, the reason why she's been told to avoid making any direct statements is because the administration doesn't want any of this to turn into a clippable moment, which it kind of isn't, right? Like, she can't do anything to throw him off guard or put him on the back step or make him defend a point. All she can do is say, but sir, my questions, sir, what about this?
Which is legal. He was carrying a gun, which in Minneapolis is legal.
I didn't say it wasn't. And I didn't say it wasn't legal.
So
but
then what did he do that was illegal?
Assault federal law enforcement when he does that. That's an active law enforcement crime
Where do you
scene
see in the video that he was
decided to enter into?
Where do you see in the video that he was assaulting law enforcement? Because from everything we have seen, law enforcement was assaulting him when he was there trying to help another individual.
Dana, law enforcement doesn't assault anyone. Follow directions of law enforcement. Follow directions of law enforcement in an active crime scene.
It can't be assault. A cop did it.
It's very evident he didn't want to do that. Very evident that the other individuals didn't want to do that. And, you know, it's too bad the consequences had to be paid because he injected himself into that crime scene. I can't say that enough. He made the decision to go there. We didn't make the decision to talk to him. We didn't even know that individual was in existence until he came into that crime scene.
Even, yeah, but of the most like banal kind, right? Like Bovino is 65 IQ at best. He looks like a dumb cow. He looks like his namesake. He's just bluthering through this. He has no idea what he's saying, no coherent strategy, and she lets him get away with it because, you know, her masters have reined her in. That's it.
Back to video number 1, because you keep seeing that
stupid, wet-eyed, nothing going on up here.
He injected himself into the crime scene. He was a guy on a street filming an operation. He was far away. He wasn't on the crime scene. And what I want...
Law enforcement doesn't assault seems like a clippable moment to me. Sure, then go find the clip, jackass. Fucking argue with me about it. Yeah, go find the viral clip. That's what I thought.
To see again is that law enforcement appears by the video we have to be approaching him and the person who is next to him, not the other way around. And so what I want to know is, what evidence do you have that he went after law enforcement?
Sure. The fact that he was standing in the middle of the road, there was interaction between him, the bystanders, and law enforcement. And again, follow directions of law enforcement. He doesn't need to be...
To be fair, would it make a difference if she was harsher? Yes, the infinite leeway and permissiveness that every institution has given Trump have been why he's been able to do what he's done. The administration is weak and the people who run it are very, very stupid. But they keep getting away with every bad thing they do because they get no pushback. Every university just folds. Every company just folds. There's no pushback whatsoever. There are so many American institutions that could have ended this administration by now if they had just put their feet down. You know, Silicon Valley on its own, not to suggest they would be interested in that, but if all of the like big AI companies, you could just take Microsoft, Nvidia, Apple. That's all you would need. Just some of the big ones saying, these tariffs are stupid. They impede us from doing our work. Remove them immediately. That'd be it. That would have been it immediately. Rather than like their cowardly concession, this like back end push to get rid of the Chinese like computer and computer chip specific tariffs, but like a flat, like a blanket opposition. Again, of course, they would never do this because they're evil as well. But like they would have ended it like this. Universities as a whole, like this. Rather than their constant folding capitulation. Media companies, like this. Oh, but they really wanted that merger with Paramount. This is the reason why they keep getting away with it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's not that they're powerful. It's not that they're good. It's not that they're smart. Right now, the biggest pushback we've seen anywhere in the United States has been the people of Minnesota. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's all we've seen. The Democrats certainly aren't doing anything. Neither are the Republicans. And by the way, every Republican in Congress, all of them, every single one of them right now are preparing their golden parachutes. They all know that the administration is insane and that it will only last so long. They're just hoping they can keep getting reelected after. That's why they all voted for the release of the Epstein files, because they didn't want to get primaried later being the one guy who didn't, like that fuckwit from Louisiana. Clay Higgins.
Middle of a crime scene. Dan, I don't think you would want to be in the middle of a crime scene, or you would want civilians in the middle of a crime scene injecting themselves into something that is none of their business at all.
Can you also just answer the question about the gun? Because, again,
What the? Can you just give me something? Can you answer gun? Can you give the gun? Question about the gun.
do you have any evidence that he was brandishing his weapon? Did he ever have his hand on the weapon?
Yeah, again, the officers on the ground, in that melee, we hear gun, gun, gun. So that gun at some point became visible to officers.
But could it have been because they
In the holster.
they had him on the ground and maybe his shirt came up and they saw that it was on him? That
Pure
doesn't mean that he was.
speculation, and that
Pure speculation on the thing that we have video footage of from multiple angles.
That is why we have an investigation, Dana.
Fine,
That is what we are investigating. You're not going to know that now.
But you're claiming that he brandished it without the investigate. Again, like this is it makes you feel like you're in a nightmare insane world. The only correct thing to do here is to say he's a pedophile. Say we have video footage. Nowhere did he brandish it. You are a lying pedophile defender, or you're perhaps yourself a pedophile. And you should, like, you don't deserve, anything less is collaborationism.
And I'm not going to know
I think an investigation is great, but the Homeland Security Secretary said he was brandishing a weapon. Do you have evidence that we haven't seen that he was brandishing a weapon?
He brought a semi-automatic weapon to a riot, assaulted federal officers, and at some point they saw that weapon. So I do believe the secretary is 100% spot on in what she said. Why would you bring a weapon and assault a federal officer if you did not have intent to harm or delay or obstruct that federal officer with a weapon?
You keep saying that he assaulted a federal officer, but again, we have not seen evidence that that happened. It looked like he was on the defense, and again, he had a gun legally. It sort of feels like we're in the upside down where
This is the world the Democrats promise you, folks. An eternity of American political discourse where Fox News gets to say literally anything they want. Like Jesse Waters, he gets to just shrug and be like, we love killing people. It's funny to us, you know? Every Democrat he doesn't like, he can say anything about them. Meanwhile, every left of center, gigantic finger quotes, news network, this is all they'll ever be able to do against Republicans. A wheel of samsara. People in Biden's administration were correct when they said the media was unfair to Biden, but they never understood why, you know? They thought it was that the media has a Republican bias, when in reality they have a deep state bias, and they were getting impatient. They wanted somebody to hasten things along faster than Biden would ever be willing to. And because they cannot name the enemy, they can't do anything about it.
have law enforcement and conservatives who are very pro Second Amendment saying the problem was that he had a gun legally.
No, the problem is, as I said several times now, is he injected himself. He put himself where he did not need to be. He put himself in and put law enforcement officers in jeopardy through his actions. These were his actions, not law enforcement officers' action. We had to react to an individual that came there for a specific reason. And again, what that reason is, we're going to find more out about that in the coming days. I'll be interested to see what his reason for being there, while Border Patrol agents were arresting a violent criminal illegal alien doing their lawful, ethical, and moral duties in Minneapolis. That's the question.
Well, but the question is also, why is an American citizen now dead for the second time who was there to document, in this case.
Greg Bovino is showing signs of weakness here, right? He's showing signs of severe cognitive damage, which will not be taken advantage of by the media.
And clearly to be there as a bystander, which is his First Amendment right.
He wasn't there to clearly document anything. Don't socially engineer the topic, Dana. He was not there to document.
Appeared
he came
to be.
there for
That's
a reason.
fair. Appeared
and
to be.
He obfuscated and delayed officers there on the scene. That's pretty evident to me.
I want to ask you about your agents. You said that this was a highly trained agent who had been serving on Border Patrol for 8 years. What was he trained for? Because these are your Border Patrol agents, and they're now in the interior of the country, in American cities. Was he trained in urban policing?
Yes, all of our Border Patrol agents are trained in all for all types of environments, including urban policing. This particular Border Patrol agent had 8 years with some specific skill sets there with both firearms and less lethal munitions. Also, let's take a look at the training and the environments that Border Patrol agents operate in. We operate in places like San Diego, California, Tucson, Arizona, New Orleans. All those have Border Patrol sectors. Detroit, Michigan.
I'm depressed.
We've got Border Patrol sectors in Buffalo. So this myth, and I saw this just last night on CNN, this myth that Border Patrol agents don't work in urban areas is just that. It's a myth. We're well adept at...
Love that Democrats continue to push the narrative that the problem with ICE agents is that they're undertrained. And meanwhile, every single ICE official is like, no, we're operating at peak training abilities right now. Give us more money and we'll only teach them to do this, but harder.
At urban areas, conducting that Title VIII immigration enforcement wherever we go. It doesn't matter if it's a desert or an urban environment. We're very well adept at doing that.
Is the agent or agents, is it your understanding that more than one agent fired a weapon at Alex Preddy?
Again, that's going to be part of the investigation.
An Atlantic piece came out today calling Trump a fascist openly. Meaningless. Anyone who would only now call Trump a fascist is worthless to our movement and to this country. Until recently, I thought it a term best avoided. Useless. What do they think anti-fascist action entails? Sending more strongly worded letters? It's the Atlantic. What are you going to expect? Just finish the fucking video.
I'm not going to speculate on how many shots or who shot or that type of thing because I don't know.
Are the agents who were involved still on the job?
Yes. They're... these Border Patrol agents are...
Don't slap away an outreached hand. Outreached hands from people like this are only extended to throw you into a deeper pit, okay? Do not accept these concessions.
Going to more than likely be on administrative duty, but they will remain Border Patrol agents. Yes.
What does that mean? So they'll be off the streets for a bit?
Not in Minneapolis, they will, but only in Minneapolis here. They'll be at a different location.
Okay. And before I let you go, I just want to button up one point that you were making about what Alex Preddy was doing there. Do you accept that it is the law that an individual has a right to film what law enforcement is doing?
I believe that all citizens of the United States have those First and Fourth Amendment rights as long as they do so peacefully and don't delay, obstruct, or assault anyone in doing that. And that's the issue here because he was not peacefully...
Kind of a giveaway for him to mention the Fourth Amendment, don't you think? Considering that that wasn't what she asked. Like, he's aware of the fact that they're violating the Fourth Amendment non-stop in Minneapolis, so he just, like, primed that one. God, he's so fucking stupid.
Doing anything.
All right. And just for the record, and we've seen this video multiple times from multiple angles, there is no evidence that he was doing anything other than being peaceful until the...
Thanks, Dana. That's great. No evidence. Even Asmongold couldn't defend this one? Yeah, I saw that.
I'm a big supporter of ICE. I think ICE is great. I think they should deport every single illegal alien in the country. All that being said, you can't have ICE. Because I'm a supporter of ICE, that means that I need to have accountability for ICE. And let me explain what I mean by that. If you have a police department that's not accountable, or a law enforcement agency that's not accountable, that basically is the Gestapo.
I can never give this disgusting retard credit for anything, but I will say it's pretty remarkable that his messaging strategy on this seems a little bit better thought out than the administration's. It is not a good long-term strategy to say we will just defend literally anything our boys do, no matter what. You know? That's like, it's an unworkable long-term strategy. Regardless of, like, it doesn't matter how Hitlerite you are. There always needs to be some line, you know? How's Pavino dumber than this guy? Maybe live streaming really is the hardest job. How do I title that? How do I title that? The media will let them get away with anything.
Job. So my advice to ICE, just quit. Walk off the job. For this,
that is a very slim jacket.
Will forever haunt you. Civilized societies don't have mass militias swarming our streets, but Donald Trump has turned our communities into war zones. Trump's turned ICE into an angry army of cocked weapons roaming our streets with their safeties filed off. So here are the rules when I'm governor. If you refuse to unmask, you'll lose your driver's license. If you work for ICE, you're disqualified from ever working for the state. I will use every statute to keep you off the streets, every power to protect the people. And to ICE agents, you don't wear your mask just for anonymity. You wear your mask for moral cover. It hides your identity from us, but also your humanity from yourself. It allows you to commit atrocities. So my advice to ICE, quit, walk off, and do it now, before you kill another nurse named Pretty or a mom named Good.
Why did you vote to thank ICE for their service in June? Kyle Kalinske, that is an excellent question. One second. I hate these people.
Weaponized ICE, terrorizing our communities. Where do the candidates for governor stand? Eric Swalwell voted to thank ICE for protecting the homeland, even though almost every other Democrat in California voted no.
Sounds like somebody's overcompensating. Oh my God.
Trump billions for his border wall.
Facebook.
And billions more for ICE, even as other Democrats voted no. Tony Thurmond, the son of immigrants. Tony helped pass laws to keep ICE out of California schools, hospitals, and emergency rooms. Helped pass health care for undocumented Californians, and has always opposed Trump's border wall.
Is this true? That Swalwell and Katie Porter have both been pro-ICE in the past? Yes. You still see it in his rhetoric today. Sorry for the Facebook links.
Wants what ICE is. I don't think anyone likes or wants what ICE is doing right now. We were told the most violent individuals would be deported. Again, a child, U.S. citizen, battling stage 4 cancer, deported. Once you shoot a mom in the face 3 times who has Stuffies in her glove compartment and Cheerios, not a weapon, not a knife, you shot her in the face 3 times and you claim that you were justified, forget it. No one asked for this, and ICE as it exists today needs to be completely dismantled.
There it is, isn't it? We were told they'd go after the criminals, but they didn't. ICE, as it exists today, has to be... Yeah. Don't be fooled by the, based and red-pilled ad over here. These duplicitous motherfuckers. This is the deep state, too. They will commodify and take advantage of every progressive intent you have, and they will grind it into dust and do nothing. You will vote for the guy who seems based, and then he will raise funding for Israel. He will raise funding for ICE. Deep State too. It's the same deep state, brother. It's the same fucking deep state. Should we trust this change of heart? It's not a change of heart. What would a non-deep state rhetoric or candidate sound like? Well, they certainly wouldn't say shit like ICE as it exists now needs to end, or vote to thank ICE for protecting the homeland. You know, just pitching those ones out there. I agree with you, but do you think it's a sign we're winning that they're forced to acquiesce to our side? No, all it is a sign that we're more popular. In California, being anti-ICE is the more popular position for a gubernatorial candidate. But what people will vote for and what people get are two very different things. If we want to break the cycle, we have to recognize when people are lying to us. The current ICE shit is so infuriating. Anybody who says ICE as it is now, or ICE in its current form, or anything like that, you can instantly write them off as a stooge of the deep state. You don't need to do any more research. That rhetoric was handcrafted by the finest consultants in DC. I guarantee you. They settled on it relatively recently. That's what they're using right now. That's their signal. It's a signal that no matter what they say on the campaign trail, they will not interrupt the powers that be if they come into office. That's their little wink, 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 nudge, nudge. So Pritzker's a stooge? Yeah, obviously. No shit. Yeah, I suppose I have to go over this at some point. Wow, surprisingly high viewership. People tend not to watch this stuff. Crockett versus Tallarico. For the very, 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 very important Texas Senate seat.
But I stand before you because I started my life
Why this start in the middle? Is this just the very, very beginning?
off as an actual CSR. I worked phones at Western Union. I then went on to work phones for MCI WorldCom. And I know that it was the CWA that actually fought against those systems. You see, we're living in a time in which systems are clearly rigged against us. And I am here to tell
God, the audio on this is terrible. It looks like this is where the video is hosted, though.
you that while the system has been fighting me, I have been fighting them back. So whether we are talking about as a public defender, as a state representative, or as a U.S. Congresswoman, I am here to fight the system that is holding so many of us down.
What
so when I
system?
was a public defender, it came down to those indigent folk, because it seems like some people get a get out of jail free card while other people who need that card.
Remember when she said we need Latin people in the country because black people aren't going back to the cotton fields or something? That was pretty good.
It seemed to find any type of cards. When it came down to being a state representative, I was one of the co-leads to make sure that we fled the state over voting rights. And ultimately, Governor Abbott
Say hi to the Tallarico team. They watch you. Oh, bad taste, huh? Maybe I will vote for Crockett. Hey.
decided to respond by sending me a warrant for my arrest, which I currently have framed. And finally, as a U.S. Congresswoman, I have fought so diligently, and so many of you are very well aware of those fights. But more importantly, we know that the President of the United States decided that he would then come after our voices, an authentic, unbought, and unbossed voice in D.C. And that's why they started with the redistricting in Texas. Thank you so much.
Mr. Tallarico, we now go to your opening statement. You have...
Should we have open borders or at minimum an analog to ICE? ICE did not exist 25 years ago. the border police, the U.S. Border Patrol, regardless of what you think about U.S. border policy, we literally do not need ICE. There was no reason for that institution to exist. It was created after the Department of Homeland Security, or with it. They did not exist before 9/11. We've had Border Patrol for centuries.
60 seconds.
Well, first, thank you to the AFL-CIO for hosting us. As a proud union member, it's an honor to be here with so many of my union brothers and sisters. I also want to thank Congressman Crockett for being here. Before I was a legislator, I was a public school teacher on the west side of San Antonio, one of the poorest zip codes in the entire state of Texas. On the west side, I learned that the real fight in this country is not left versus right, it's top versus bottom. We will not win this race in November with the same...
Remarkably, the INS actually was a semi-well-functioning immigration system. Yeah, because the INS worked under the DOJ. The INS was just a branch, like the Marshals, right? Like they were law enforcers who were specifically tasked with immigration. ICE is like a fucking paramilitary group, you know? The difference in framing between the people who deal with immigration work with the Department of Justice, and the people who work with immigration work with Homeland Security is very, very different. They folded the INS into ICE, but they are not the same institution.
Old politics of division. Billionaires want us looking left and right at each other, so we're not looking up at them. We are building a people-powered movement to beat them in November. We've recruited more than 13,000 volunteers. We have traveled to every corner.
They got rid of the INS? Yeah, in 2003 when they made ICE.
Texas, because we're not writing off any voter or any community, and we have shattered grassroots fundraising records without taking a dime of corporate PAC money. That is how we take power back for working people, and today I'm asking you to join us.
Thank you both, and I'm sure you've heard this before. A Democrat has not won a statewide race in 32 years, so electability is important. In the context of electability, style matters. And the next question aims at outlining each of your styles.
And we'll start with Ms. Crockett. You have referred to your authenticity as your political superpower. You went viral for your clash with Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, and you've called Governor Greg Abbott Governor Hot Wheels. In 60 seconds, explain why that is the right style to win a U.S. Senate seat.
Listen, we are not looking at politics as usual. Just today, we just had another person gunned down in the streets in Minneapolis. And so for anyone that believes that we are going to be able to respond to this in a normal way, I think that they've got it wrong. But more importantly, when we talk about electability, how many of you have heard things like we are the party of the educational elites? We've heard that over and over. We've heard things like we are losing African-American men. We are losing Latinos. We have heard these things. Right now, we know when we look at our polling, when it comes to working class people, I am leading by 20 points. We know that I am leading when it comes to African-American men. We know that...
Wow, no shit. You're leading with black voters? What a fucking shock.
Overall, women are going to play a really big role in deciding who gets elected, and I am leading amongst women.
What about white men?
So at the end of the day,
Texas.
When we look at the numbers,
what about
the numbers
Latin
are there.
men?
This is about whether or not we have the will, and right now, people are not happy with the Democrat.
By the way, massive DC consultancy brain, you think of people only as demographics. Rather than having a unifying message that applies to people, all you have to say, yeah, I'm popular with this subdemographic and this subdemographic and this subdemographic, you know? From a person who doesn't talk to real people. Also, authenticity. She's pro-Israel. Remember her being confronted on her pro-Israel vote? She got really indignant, and rather than answering the questions from the person with the camera in her face, she said, you can go look at my votes. They're public. And then you look at them and they're bad.
Party. I've seen the polling. What they want is someone who is going to be unafraid in the face of what we are facing right now, which is someone who believes he's a king.
Mr. Tallarico, before we get to your style, we do want to get your reaction to what Ms. Crockett just said. You'll have 30 seconds for this.
Well, I think the Congresswoman and I both agree that we have a moral imperative to win this election in November. If we don't win, we can't help people. I have seen the consequences in the trenches of the Texas legislature of losing elections. I've seen my constituents get hurt. I've seen rights that we took for granted rolled back. I've seen schools close. I've seen people not be able to access basic health care. So we have to win in November. I think she and I are committed to that. I hope all of us in this room are committed to that singular goal.
Mr. Tallarico, you've said that your campaign is shaped by two commandments: love God, love your neighbor. But a lot of Democrats want a fighter. So why do you think that your approach is the right one to get you to Washington? And you have 60 seconds for this.
God, the audio.
I don't think you should believe anything a politician says. I think you should look at what a politician has done. The best indicator of future behavior is past behavior. And the people in this room know that I have fought tooth and nail for our values in the Texas House of Representatives. I have gone toe-to-toe with the billionaires who are trying to dismantle public education in this state. Tim Dunn, Ferris Wilks, Betsy DeVos, Jeff Yass. Those same billionaires are now trying to dismantle public education at the federal level. I led the fight against Greg Abbott's private school voucher scam that would have taken money out of our underfunded schools and given it to wealthy parents who already have their kids in private school. Now those billionaires are introducing that same voucher scam at the federal level, and they're gutting the Department of Education. So we need a proven fighter for our schools, for our values, for our constituents in the halls of power in Washington, D.C. I think we need a teacher in the United States Senate.
Ms. Crockett, your reaction to Mr. Tallarico's comments, you have 30 seconds for this.
I agree that we absolutely need a fighter. And when I look at my track record, the track record is in this moment. It's about the fierce urgency of now. We are living in a time that many of us have never seen in this country and honestly never thought that we would see. And so I think that as we see a record number of retirements on the federal level from both the Democrats and Republicans, that boils down to people not being able to fight in this particular environment. I think that I've evidenced that. In fact, James and I served in the state house together. He's actually been elected longer than I have been elected, yet he's not as known right now because I have engaged in these fights and they have been right there on the front lines where people could see me out front. I think that because of, I didn't get my 50, my bad.
Moving on, we're going to stick with you, Ms. Crockett. We have a follow-up question.
It's like the third time she's awkwardly trailed off after the bell dings.
When it comes to electability, what's the political risk that you are willing to take that you feel like your opponent would not take in order to win the U.S. Senate seat?
I think that I will do the edgy things, the things that the political consultants will never tell you to do. Because right now, people are hurting. This isn't about games. It's not about politics as usual. It's not about who sounds as clean as possible. It is about tapping into the rawness of this moment. I have been to Minneapolis and heard the stories of the people on the ground as they are being accosted. And obviously, we've got killings that are going on. And now we have the DOJ that has decided that they want to prosecute the wife of Renee Good. I have been there in California after David Huerta of SEIU had been incarcerated by ICE. And
she's actually allergic to saying what she would do. Like every fucking time someone hands her the mic, she's like, "You've not seen governance like this before. I'm gonna hit it down. You won't believe how hard I go. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, take a look at this. You've never seen the shit that I'm about to lay out." She never actually says what she's gonna do. It's all like a build up and no drop.
I listened to his story and met with him because we went there. I have been to Chicago. I am here to tell you that I am not just sitting in DC. I am getting out into the streets. And right now, to be perfectly honest, if we're going to win and keep our country, we're going to need somebody who can file bills, but also knows how to be a street fighter. And so that is my response.
Mr. Tallarico, same question, 30 seconds. What's the political risk that you are willing to take that you feel your opponent would not?
Here's the risk I'm willing to take. Congresswoman Crockett and I are on the same team. I think we've already seen in this debate that there's going to be a temptation by the media to pit us against each other. But we are all focused on the same goal, which is winning in November and stopping a Senator Ken Paxton. And so
he might be too nice for this. Maybe it's the right strategy. I'm not sure.
I think in this debate, you're going to see that Congresswoman Crockett and I agree on a whole lot more than we disagree on. And that unity is a threat to the billionaires who want to pit us all against each other, and who right now are running this country, running this economy, and we need someone who has stood up to those billionaires in our nation's capital.
We want to move to the topic of immigration enforcement now. As many of you know, there was a deadly shooting involving federal immigration officers today in Minneapolis.
The House this week approved a spending bill that included funding for ICE. Ms. Crockett, you voted against the bill Thursday. Can you explain your opposition and tell us whether you support the idea of defunding or abolishing ICE? You have 60 seconds.
I absolutely voted against this bill. There was no way I was going to continue to pump a historic amount of money into this rogue organization that is going out and is violating people's rights every single day on American cities. I was just not going to do it. At the end of the day, right now, I think that we need to clean house from top to bottom. I ended up signing on to impeachment of Kristi Noem, as well as I call her Cruel Kristi. I signed on to that. But I don't even know. Here's my big issue. Right now, we have an administration all throughout that is deciding, yes, these are the laws, but we're just going to ignore them. They are not following the law. So why are we rewarding bad behavior? And that's basically what it is. This is the 5th highest funded military force in the entire world. And what are they doing? They're killing people in the middle of the street. They decided to execute a mother of 3 in broad daylight. I don't understand how we are sitting here and acting like this is normal. The only reason trying to be respectful of the time.
I do want to ask you, though, would you support abolishing or defunding ICE?
We absolutely have to clean house. Whatever that looks like, I am willing to do it. Because if there are truly Proud Boys that are currently in ICE, that's a problem.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Tallarico.
Should be noted that everyone in leadership positions at ICE, including Bovino, and also both of the high-profile murderers of Renee Good and Pretty, both of them longtime veteran members of ICE and Border Patrol, respectively.
How would you vote on ICE funding measures, and do you believe ICE should be abolished or defunded? You have 60 seconds.
ICE shot a mother in the face. ICE kidnapped a 5-year-old boy. ICE executed a man in broad daylight on our streets just this morning. It's time to tear down this secret police force and replace it with an agency that actually is going to focus on public safety. We need to impeach Kristi Noem. We need to prosecute agents who've abused their power. We have to haul these masked men before Congress so the world can see their faces. We should be cracking down on the cartels, not our communities. We should be prosecuting gang members, not small business owners. We should be hunting down human traffickers, not moms and babies. We need comprehensive immigration reform in this country. We need to remake this broken immigration system in our own image.
I think if you're going after the Gestapo, you don't need to say, like, we're going after the predatory usury lenders, not after innocent Jews. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if the problem that we're dealing with right now is Gestapo, you don't need to moderate your language with like, oh, well, don't worry, like the bad targets you're going after. In Texas, you do. Yeah, it's true they are running in Texas.
And once we win a Senate majority, we will do exactly that.
Just to be clear, though, would you, in 10 seconds, abolish or defund ICE?
We have seen this historic increase in funding for ICE. That money has come out of our healthcare. So what I would say is that we should take that money back and put it in our communities where it belongs.
Staying on the topic of ICE, with a follow-up question, Mr. Tallarico, you'll have 30 seconds for this. One comment that you have made is that ICE...
It probably is like on the left side of what you can get away with in Texas.
...should crack down on cartels. So what does cracking down on cartels look like to you?
So we have a law enforcement agency that is going after American citizens, that's going after our neighbors, including our undocumented neighbors. There was a mom and dad up in DFW, the Vargases. They own a dry cleaners. They've had it for 20 years. They're beloved by their customers, by their community members. They raised a daughter who is now attending Texas Tech University. On their way back from Tech, after dropping her off, they were detained by ICE. If our law enforcement officials are going after the Vargases, that means they're not going after the cartels or rapists or murderers. And so I think whatever we think on this issue, we should have law enforcement focused on public safety.
Ms. Crockett, a follow-up question for you. This week, you proposed the Track ICE Act,
Yes.
which would require immigration-related flight data be released within 72 hours. Explain how this transparency would affect the way ICE operates. You have 30 seconds.
I've had too many people call my office and not know where their loved ones are. I have too many people that don't know whether or not they are safe. And to be perfectly honest, I don't know that we can ever say that you're going to be right here in Texas at the Dilley facility. We know that they just found that there was a detainee that had been killed. They ruled that it was a homicide. That is the same facility that they took that precious 5-year-old to. I plan to go and conduct oversight at on Wednesday with one of my colleagues. The sad part is that if I conduct oversight, I have to look at somebody like my colleague, LaMonica McIver, who is now facing 17 years in prison because she...
What the hell?
All right, this follow-up is for both of you. If elected
Next
senator, you
star.
will represent all Texans,
Mods!
many of whom support deporting undocumented immigrants. How do you balance your feelings toward ICE versus the Texans you will represent who support the enforcement we're seeing right now? Ms. Crockett, we start with you. You have 30 seconds.
Yeah, as it relates to the enforcement that we see right now, let me be clear. They are supposed to do immigration and customs enforcement, not going after U.S. citizens, not going after people that are documented. That is not what they are supposed to do, but that is what they are doing. They are turning us into Nazi Germany by saying they're going to go door to door. They are going after people because of their accent or the color of their skin, because this Supreme Court gave them carte blanche ability to do so. So all we want ICE to do is to do what ICE was created to do, and unfortunately that's not what they are doing.
All right, thank you. Mr. Tallarico, same question. How do you balance your feelings toward ICE versus...
I feel like the problem we keep running into here is just that what nobody wants to grapple with is the fundamental problem with ICE and Border Patrol, as evidenced by the fact that these murderers and cretins and thugs coming from the organization have, in many cases, been there for years and years. They're not all people who were just hired a year ago, you know? Which is that the organization is fundamentally Hitlerite. It has always been like this. Bavino has been there for decades. Fucking, God, what's his name? I'm blanking. The big dumb oaf, the guy who looks like an ogre. Can't even speak right. What's his, Tom Homan, thank you. He's been here. He was there under Obama, you know? For years now, for decades now, the people in these organizations have been waiting for a president who would let them cut loose. Is this a pro-Tallarico or Crockett channel? I'm pro-Tallarico. Crockett is a deep state agent, servant of Israel, etc., etc.
People.
Just another, like, DC shill, a plant, someone who's there to divide us.
You would represent who support deporting undocumented immigrants. You have 30 seconds.
So my family is from the border. My mom grew up in Laredo, Texas. I feel like Texans understand this issue of immigration more so than people in other states because we live with it, both the benefits and the challenges. So what I've said is that our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front and a lock on the door. We can welcome immigrants who want to live the American dream. We can build a pathway to citizenship for those neighbors who have been here, making us richer and stronger, and we can keep out people who mean to do us harm.
All right, well, this debate is being
probably about the best you can do in Texas.
Hosted by the Texas AFL-CIO, and some of their union members have some pre-recorded questions for the candidates.
We start with one from Calvin Mackey, first business agent for International Longshoremen's Association, Local 24 in Houston. Here's the question.
As a longshoreman, I've seen firsthand how artificial intelligence and automation driven by corporate interests has resulted in job losses. If elected, what will you prioritize at the federal level to ensure workers have a voice in artificial intelligence implementation and are protected from unfair uses of artificial intelligence?
Mr. Tallarico, and I believe Mr. Mackey is here in the crowd. How would you prioritize the federal level to ensure workers have a voice in AI implementation and are protected from unfair uses of AI? You have 60 seconds.
Well, when I was a public school teacher, I was a member of my local teachers union, the San Antonio Alliance. Shout out to the Alliance. And now that I'm a state lawmaker, I'm a proud member of the Texas State Employees Union. And I'm proud to say that in the Texas legislature, I have a 100% pro-worker voting record from the AFL-CIO. You've had my back when I was a worker in the classroom, and I've had your back as a legislator. And that includes when it comes to AI. In the U.S. Senate, we have...
That's nice. I think I'm mostly interested in their responses to ICE. I wonder if there's anything here on Israel. We done with the ticker? Federal worker protection legislation. Should Congress need to put military action? Obviously, both of them are going to say yes. Oh, do you support expanded Supreme Court? Sure, I'll hear it.
And you would vote to impeach?
Gromer, I'm not going to articulate articles of impeachment here at a political debate, but if those charges are brought in the U.S. House and they come before the U.S. Senate, I will carefully evaluate them, I will weigh the evidence, and I will do my duty as a U.S. Senator.
All right, let's talk about the U.S. Supreme Court now. Ms. Crockett, you have co-sponsored legislation to expand the Supreme Court. You argue that the court has been politicized and no longer reflects democratic accountability. In 60 seconds, what specifically led you to that position?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. Just to give a little bit of history on the expansion of the court has been expanded a total of 7 times in the history of this country. The last time that this court was expanded was 150 years ago. Our country has actually expanded a little bit faster than the court has. So that's number one. We also know, because of the games that were played in the United States Senate, we know that all 3 of these justices that he got to appoint, he shouldn't have gotten 3 appointments. We also know that
at 38, there's an Israel question. Okay.
Should be placed on U.S. military aid to Israel. You have 60 seconds.
Yeah, so when it needs to make it for, at a very minimum, our fundamental issues.
Well, let's turn to foreign policy. Ms. Crockett, I have a question for you. What conditions, if any, should be placed on U.S. military aid to Israel? You have 60 seconds.
Yeah, so when it comes down to aid, I want people to understand that right now, again, we have an enforcement issue in this country. We have rules. If there is a violation of international law, then we are not supposed to continue to send the money. We are supposed to stop the money. Right now, our issue isn't whether or not we're writing enough laws. Our issue is whether or not we are actually going to enforce them. And right now, as we have Republicans that control the House, Republicans that control the Senate, and a Republican in the White House, unfortunately, there's a bunch of cowardness instead of courage to decide that they are going to say, this is the reports that we have, and therefore we need to enforce the law. I'm happy to say that in May of 2024, I signed on to a letter that was led by Representative Jayapal. That letter actually went to President Biden. It was specifically on this issue and saying, President Biden, you don't need to authorize further munitions at this moment because there is evidence that there are.
But you voted for Israel funding after everyone knew they were committing war crimes. You're like, well, we shouldn't have been able to give them funding because of the war crime. You voted for the funding after the war crimes.
Problems, and therefore there are violations of international law.
Mr. Tallarico, same question. What conditions, if any, should be placed on U.S. military aid to Israel? You have 60 seconds.
As an educator who has fought for children, seeing what's happening in Gaza makes me sick to my stomach. I quoted a theologian the other day who said, I screamed at God for the starving children until I realized the starving children was God screaming at me. God is screaming at all of us in Gaza as we speak. Yes, Israel has a right to defend its people, certainly after October 7th, the deadliest day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust. But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu does not have the right to wage war against civilians. He does not have the right to restrict aid. He does not have the right to use famine or collective punishment as tactics in that effort. And so I have said that if I'm in the United States Senate, I will use every bit of this country's financial and diplomatic leverage to end the death and destruction in Gaza, which means banning offensive weapons to the Netanyahu government and ensuring that we have candidates all across this country who are going to speak the truth about this issue. And I have done that repeatedly. I would not vote to Benjamin Netanyahu that he is currently using to slaughter children in Gaza.
Yeah, that's not what I was hoping to hear.
Let's stick with foreign policy. Ms. Crockett, you have publicly criticized the U.S. military operation in Venezuela and the capture of Nicolas Maduro. In 30 seconds, do you think the president needs congressional approval before taking military action against a foreign country?
Absolutely. We had a briefing on this issue. I was not satisfied with that briefing. At the end of the day,
Do you have to be a Zionist to get anywhere in U.S. politics? Yes. Basically, all like military policing, surveillance, tech, and like all the other like big, robust industries that control the world have roots between America and Israel. We've used Israel as like a satellite state to externalize some of the more obviously awful stuff those industries do and what they test and what they're interested in.
this president is seemingly trying to plunge us not only into a civil war with ICE, but he's also trying to plunge
What
us.
were you hoping to hear? I'm tired of hearing, of course, the people of Israel can defend themselves after October 7th. I like even saying that is a concession to the lie that anyone believes otherwise. Like anyone on earth thinks that it would have been bad for the IDF to fight back against the Hamas insurgents who invaded Israel on October 7th. Obviously, no shit, yes. Though the way the IDF did it ended up killing a ton of their own civilians. But like by saying that, you are implying that there's any real debate there, as if what the past 2.5 years hasn't just been a completely one-sided slaughter, right? It's ridiculous. Of course, the German people have a right to defend themselves against the, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, bullshit. Fucking ridiculous. Also, I'm tired of the defensive weapons bullshit. Weapons are weapons. No more offensive weapons? How about no more defensive weapons? Why the fuck are we paying for their defensive weapons? They have free healthcare over there. Maybe pull some of the money from that fund to pay for their own fucking Iron Dome rockets, okay? Why the fuck are we paying for that? Why have we just assumed responsibility for that? Not even in NATO.
Into World War III. And he's not trying to stop at Venezuela, which is why we must have a check on him, because he is threatening Greenland. He has decided that he wanted to threaten Cuba, and he's talking about going after Mexico, which happens to be our largest trade partner. He is consistent. We don't stop him. I am afraid about how many other folk are going to be trying to come after us. We have to stop him in this moment.
All right, Mr. Tellerico, you've also criticized the current administration's military action in Venezuela. 30 seconds for the same question. Do you think the president needs congressional approval before taking military action against a foreign country?
Absolutely. We have to confront this new American imperialism.
I do believe there's value in having defensive weapons because we have to intercept missiles somehow. Sure, we have to. Israel doesn't. I don't give a fuck if they get hit. Why the fuck? Why are my taxpayer dollars going to that? Do their taxpayer dollars go to protecting us? Are they paying for Narcan to be sent over across the Atlantic? I don't see why the fuck I should have to fund their shit. They keep starting wars. They bomb like every year. They bomb all their neighbors. They keep starting wars. Why the fuck should? Why am I? They get what's coming to them. Okay. They start wars. They don't have no interest in making friends with their neighbors. Oh, we're getting attacked. No shit, buddy. This was her statement on Israel after October 7th, where she only cared about voting no in Israel A because she said the House Republicans were using it to sneak spending instead. What is this? Okay, this is pretty standard fare after October 7th, Pretty standard fare. Anyway. Special interest influence on Congress. Sure. Final topic.
I agree. I mean, I'm running for the United States Senate because I think that it's time for us to do our best to try to unrig this system. Listen, I'm not a likely story. I didn't come from a family where everybody thought that I was going to end up in politics. And frankly, as I started this off, I said that I hate politics. At the end of the day, we need to do things like you were talking about the enrichment issue as it relates to Donald Trump. Donald Trump has enriched himself to the tune of $1.4 billion since he has been in office in violation of the Emoluments Clause of the United States Constitution. That's just in this term.
All right, we're tight on time. Let's move to Mr. Tellerico. A 30-second follow-up question for you. You've touched on themes of moral leadership and restoring accountability and trust in government. If elected to the Senate, what specific anti-corruption measures would you prioritize, and how would they be different from what Washington has already promised but failed to deliver?
Well, I've already outlined some of them: banning corporate PACs, banning super PACs, and banning members of Congress from trading stocks. I also think we need to ban forms of corruption that don't involve money. I think we need
a bill that arrests, it mandates the arrest of every member of the United States Supreme Court who does not vote to overturn Citizens United. Unironically, that's like an actual like end of days thing right there. I don't care how many laws we'd have to break to get that thing changed. Just oh, here's a case. You're going to take this one immediately. You're going to bring it up, and this will overturn Citizens United. How do you rule? You roll against it. All right, buddy. Welcome to Gitmo. I'm sorry. You're going to be spending the rest of your life here.
National ban on gerrymandering across every state in this country. I think we need to overhaul the Supreme Court, which we talked about earlier. I think we need to pass term limits.
Arresting folks who are opposed to views. That sounds familiar. Yes, I think that when people vote to throw democracy to oligarchy, they should be arrested. Democracy needs to be actively defended. Democracy isn't just a fact of reality that exists with or without your input, you know? It's a system that has to be protected. So when the most powerful high priests in the country all decide, yeah, corporations are people, and you should be able to spend an infinite... Do you have any idea what spending on campaigns has looked like since the Citizens United? Hold on. You know what it looks like? This was basically like the death knell for the country. This was the funereal bell getting rung. It's only going to get worse. For a non-American, what's Citizens United? Citizens United was a ruling from the Supreme Court that essentially stated that corporations have the First Amendment right to spend their money in for presidential campaigns. So now, like the cap went off basically in elections. So no longer was this considered bribery or election interference. Now it's like, oh well, of course BlackRock has a moral right to be able to give infinite money to, keep in mind, by the way, that in regular citizens, we have limits on direct campaign contributions. But obviously, like the way it works with PACs is different. The fact that it can be done through corporations obfuscates it, and the amount of money is just skyrocketed. I mean, this kind of proves you can't simply fix the system, because even if we have a bribes are illegal law, the politicians are incentivized to pass the make bribes legal law. It's like the thing that I read in that book on weapons that I had when I was a kid, okay? All defensive fortifications fail unless actively manned. There is no wall you can build, no trench you can dig, no moat you can fill, no landmine field you can lay, nothing that will stop people if unmanned. You need it to be manned. Otherwise, inevitably, people will find their way through it. There is no effective passive non-manned defense system, and there still isn't today. And there never will be. You need people actively protecting systems. You can't just set them up and hope they're so well constructed they will never be undone. until we end Citizens United. You can't even really blame Democrats for taking billionaire money, because otherwise how could they compete with Republicans? Well, I can. Because the only way they would even be given access to that billionaire money is if they were interested in fulfilling the wishes of those billionaires. We do still have a democracy, flawed as it is.
So people aren't making a career out of public service. And I think we can require through federal statute that every member of Congress hold at least one annual town hall in their districts so their constituents can hold them accountable. That's the kind of anti-corruption package that can restore people's faith in this system.
All right, thank you very much. Those are our questions, but the debate's not over yet because we want to move to closing statements. Mr. Tallarico, you have 60 seconds.
Well, thank you again to the AFL-CIO, and thank you to my friend Congresswoman Crockett for being here. And I just want to thank you all for being committed to this cause of flipping Texas and changing the politics of our state. I got into this because of my students. I got into the classroom in the fall of 2011, right after the state legislature cut $5 billion from our schools. I had 45 kids in one classroom. There weren't enough desks for all those kids, so I had students sitting on the air conditioning unit. It's unacceptable. And that's why I ran for the state legislature. It's why I flipped a Trump district that no one
From an electoral standpoint, how does someone compete with another candidate that receives billions from corporate entities? Mamdani won. Bernie Sanders came within a spitting distance of winning despite massive opposition from the media and also huge amounts of corporate money going towards Hillary Clinton and not towards him. We still have it. At the end of the day, as bad as things are, the will of the people still matters, and it always will. You know, the will of the people still matters. Even in shithole failed democracies like Russia, they still have to make concessions to keep people from getting too upset.
Was winnable by bringing people together to change this broken, corrupt political system. And that's exactly what we can do in this race in November. We have a moral imperative to win. And I know all of you are committed to that cause.
All right, Ms. Crockett, 60 seconds for your closing statement.
One of the things that
I mean, Bernie and Mamdani are truly extraordinary candidates that were able to raise funding on their own. Yes, we have to be extraordinary. You're up against the deep state. You're up against the greatest concentration of wealth and power that has ever existed at any point in human history. Yeah, you have to be extraordinary. But there are, you know what? There are lots of extraordinary people. It's not just Bernie and Mamdani. There are, just within the United States, literally millions of extraordinary people who could do extraordinary things if given the chance. So our job is to give them that chance, you know? We lay the groundwork. We pave the road. We establish the environment that allows exceptional people to rise.
You said just a minute ago was a lot of people feel as if the system is rigged. As someone who has seen up close and personal how badly things are working in D.C., I have been fighting on the front lines in this corrupt administration. I am willing to take the chances that, frankly, most are not willing to take. I unfortunately have law enforcement that has to be with me all the time because of the death threats. I'm not telling you that so that you can send me your prayers. I'm telling you that because whoever goes to the United States Senate is going to have to be ready for real war. This is how bad it is. As I was traveling to East Texas last weekend, we received a phone call of a woman whose house they were having to go to because that particular woman had stated over and over and over that she was about to come and kill me. I am here to tell you that it is life or death as we see what is happening in Minnesota and otherwise.
All right, that concludes our debate. We want to thank the candidates for participating. We want to thank the Texas AFL-CIO for...
I was disappointed by some of Tallarico's answers here, I'm not going to lie, but overall I still easily support him over Crockett, you know. I don't need to be his greatest champion to support him here. I think it's a pretty clear cut, you know. To be fair, it's Texas. No, exactly. It is Texas, and it is a fact that they do not have a chance unless they appeal to some extent to independents and some Republicans, which is, you know, I mean, that's rough, but it's Texas, so. I think you might be difficult to satisfy. Me? Oh, for sure. Yeah, of course. But I try to moderate that, you know. I'm not unaware of that. I know that the average politician in America is not trying to appeal to a socialist live streamer who says the phrase deep state like 800 times a stream lately, you know? Or whose response to seeing like any police action is demonic, pedophile, Israel worshipping, etc., etc. Like I'm aware of the fact that I'm slightly outside of the political media and the Overton window. You can't see me through it, you know? You have to like look in through the side. But I don't think that invalidates my perspective. What is Crockett doing? She's raising no money. Yeah, pretty interesting. Not entirely sure why. Where is what's his face? Where is Ken Paxton? Is Ken Paxton not raising any money? He thinks he can win without ads. Okay. Huh. No, he can't. Did the phrase "the powers that be" become lexicon for you after playing Pathologic? No, it's a more widely known phrase than that, but I do appreciate their use there. There's something mystical about the phrase "the powers that be" that I like, you know? It's a little bit, you know, it's a little bit flowery. We need Paxton to win. Tallarico and Crockett have no chance against Cornyn. Yeah. But we really don't want Paxton to win, though. Worst case scenario would be Paxton beating Tallarico or Crockett. Indeed. Isn't Paxton the current governor? No. Paxton is the current AG. He's also a freak. Why not Paxton? Because Paxton is incredibly evil. Is that the anti-sodomy guy? Yes, it's the anti-sodomy guy. Paxton is the person who said that if the Supreme Court let him, he would enforce anti-sodomy laws. As in, like, he would send Texas State Police into gay clubs or personal residences to arrest people for having homosexual intercourse. At any rate. Sounds like gay people should start having heterosexual intercourse. I've been doing it for years. I've been finding a way. All right. I can feel my throat chafing a little bit. I woke up with a sore throat, and honestly, I've been doing pretty good in spite of it, but I don't want to antagonize it too much. At any rate, there is one more thing we have to talk about. An important thing. We've talked a lot on this channel about why the Trump administration does what it does. And it's been difficult to analyze their behavior consistently, I think, because there's so much incompetence thrown into the mix. Like, there are obvious intentions, right? We know the broad things they want. They want a white Christian ethno-state. They want infinite power for the president. They want infinite power for their federal police, who they're using as Gestapo, right? To an extent, they also just want to farm aura and hype moments online, because it seems like a lot of the administration is very online and really susceptible to that kind of, you know, engagement farming. Nonetheless, right? Many people have wondered, Why are they doing what they're doing in Minnesota? You know, what's the goal here? I said yesterday that at this point, ICE is so widely resisted in Minnesota and so unpopular that even if the Trump administration decides to remove themselves from Minnesota, right, they pull out, they end the operation, people will celebrate it as a win for the anti-ICE people. You know, like at this point, like they will understand this to be a defeat for the administration. Now we have a pullout condition. Take a look at this. Pam Bondi, the other day, sent a letter to Minnesota officials saying that ICE would leave the state if they turn over its voter files. The reminder to everyone here that in the United States, all business concerning elections, everything, your voter registries, how elections are conducted, they're run by the states. That's constitutionally protected. This is in the letter from Pam Bondi, the important part. Second, repeal the sanctuary policies that have led to so much crime and violence in your state. Removing criminal illegal aliens from Minnesota neighborhoods will save lives. Don't be a sanctuary state anymore. Third, allow the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice to access voter rolls to confirm Minnesota's voter registration practices comply with federal law as authorized by the Civil Rights Act of 1960. Fulfilling this common sense request will guarantee free and fair elections and boost confidence in the rule of law. Their signature is so bad. She does have the signature of a 5-year-old. That is true. How likely is Walz to accept? I don't think Walz will accept. For one, this wouldn't just be up to Walz. Like, this is a broad, I mean, it's not just the governor, it's also the House and Senate, and it's insane, absolutely insane. Why do they want this data? Because this would allow them to cook the books. So here's what they want, okay? The thing they want, most of all, is evidence of voter fraud. Like, you turn over the voter registry and there's a bunch of incongruency in there that they can point at and go, oh, you have Somalis doing votes, whatever. Now, they won't find it because that's not how reality works. Millions of dollars have been spent time and time again, endless probes into voter fraud. It just isn't happening. It's not happening, right? What they will do, however, is cook the books themselves. They will access this registry, and they will either alter it or they will look over it and accuse the state of allowing fraud by pointing at things that are not fraudulent. This is nakedly an attempted voter interference, because if the DOJ can make an argument, no matter how bad, that the state's voter rolls indicate that it is not complying with the requirements of the Civil Rights Act of 1960, they get to sue. And they get to blow the whole thing up. And then, congratulations, folks, this is the story we lead into in the midterms. Deep blue, Somali-run Tim Walz state of Minnesota under attack by voter fraud. With investigations from our hero Pam Bondi have uncovered legions and legions of fraudsters, tearing the state apart. Who knows? This must be how Biden won in 2020, you know? It's the only explanation. Now, obviously, through these lawsuits, we are forcing the state of Minnesota to comply. You understand how a news story like that could be used to justify any number of actions from the federal government, up to and including the deployment of the National Guard or of federal police? Why is the Trump admin targeting Minnesota specifically? For one, there's already a widespread story about Minnesota being full of Somali fraudsters. It plays to their narrative. For two, this is a convenient exit strategy for them. Obviously, ICE is not getting what they want in Minnesota, and they want an out, but there's no way for them to leave on even terms without it looking like a failure. This is a way of getting two things they want: the voter IDs and an excuse to leave, you know, something that makes them look high-minded. Thanks, Nick Shirley. Unironically, he did prompt all of this, yeah. Anyway, we are Nick Shirley. We carry the flame. Very useful idiot. He's not really, well, he is an idiot, but he's not being taken advantage of. He's aware of the fact that he's an agent of the state.
By now you've seen this horrific video, another individual killed in Minnesota. It's just fucking awful, the inhumanity of this. We cannot fund ICE as it is constituted today.
We cannot fund ICE as it exists today. Thank you.
But we found out something else really important today. Pam Bondi sent a letter to state officials in Minnesota in which she made a list of demands for ICE to leave Minneapolis. And one of those demands was that the state turn over its voter rolls to the federal government. This has never been about public safety. Minneapolis is a much less safe place today because ICE is there. This is likely about trying to rig and steal the election. Donald Trump is wildly unpopular. He is not committed to democracy. And he knows the only way that his movement is to retain power, the only way that his corporate allies retain power, his billionaire allies retain power this November, is for Trump to steal the election. And so he's saying to Minneapolis, if you don't give me control of the voter rolls, then ICE isn't leaving. And you can see that if he gets away with it in Minnesota, he's likely going to try it in places like Philadelphia.
It's a shakedown. This is legitimately terrifying. I need you guys to whoa. Sorry, my keyboard's still broken. New one's coming in tomorrow. This is legitimately terrifying, okay? The fact that elections are controlled by the states is the #1 thing that has prevented Donald Trump from just seizing everything, you know? Even for a red state like Texas, there's not really a mechanism by which the federal government can directly enact control over the voting process. By turning over voter rolls, you give the federal government basically unprecedented insight into the inner workings in a way that would allow them to understand vulnerabilities or engage in targeted action. Like, it really could preempt deploying the National Guard specifically to voting booths, harassing people who are black or brown outside of voting stations, knowing they're more likely to vote Democrat. This is what they would do to set in motion everything we're worried about them doing. I also don't really think it would work. I think they're trying for it, but I don't necessarily think that it would work. Even if they went for this, I really don't think they would be able to get enough motion in the courts. Any impropriety they found would allow them to do is file a lawsuit. And if they file that lawsuit, where does it go? The courts. And the courts historically have not been favorable to the administration's demands. It makes me think that they might use this. I think that this could potentially get very loud and very messy, but I would be surprised if they were able to leverage it in a way that made a massive difference. Dominion voting machines were bought by a GOP guy, so concerning? Yes, that is true. The Dominion voting machine company was bought by a Trump supporter who then immediately took over the website of the company and said that these were now pro-America freedom voting machines that would do the right thing. Wink. So, you know. They are trying to call a mess. She also does want them to remove or to share records on Medicaid and SNAP, and get rid of the sanctuary status, which I, again, don't think he's going to do. This specific angle is something the Dems have been having lawyers working on, preparing for. It's also the area where there's been the most prep. I will never, ever, ever trust the Democrats to do their job properly. I will always trust them to fail, and if they break my trust and succeed, I will be surprised by it every time. I trust them less than Republicans. You should. At least you can trust Republicans to be consistently evil. Pam Bondi letter. Not a lot of video media coverage on this, though I saw the New York Times post it. For tomorrow, Ted Cruz tries to warn Trump about the tariffs and midterms, and Trump, excuse me, says, fuck you. That's funny. I don't know. What's the response from Tim? I'm not sure if Tim has responded. Response from Minnesota's Secretary of State. Our answer to Attorney General Bondi's request is no. Her letter is an outrageous attempt to coerce Minnesota into giving federal government private data to millions of U.S. citizens in violation of state and federal law. It makes me wonder, though, if this is the strategy that they're going to go with moving forward. Are they going to turn up the heat on Minnesota? Like, are they going to start killing more people in an attempt to strong arm Tim Walz into going ahead with this? Maybe, maybe not. That won't work? It wouldn't be likely to work, but Democrats have rolled over for less. Walz got asked about it? Oh, please. Please.
Walz, you got a letter from Attorney General Pam Bondi making several demands, I guess you would call them, regarding sanctuary cities, regarding fraud and voter rolls. Your response to that, and is there anything we can do to meet the Trump administration, at least part of the way, to try to turn this temperature down?
Well, first of all, it's not a serious attempt, and the Attorney General sent that in. I would thank the local folks and Commissioner Snell. Thank you to you and your team over there. In that letter, they talked about, you need to hand people over who are in your jails. They're taking credit for people that we've had in jail for a long time. We always hand them over, and the commissioner very clearly. So they're lying. They're lying. This has nothing to do with fraud, as the Attorney General said. They're not sending us forensic accountants, and these are things that have been. We're dealing with now and have been for quite some time. So look, it's not a serious attempt to get at this. The way to fix this is get these folks out of here. We've continued to work with them. They asked us for these numbers. We provided them. We continue to show, and they're not serious. And look, I think everybody understands what the last request was, totally unrelated to anything on the voter files. This is, again, as the Attorney General said, Donald Trump telling everybody that the election was rigged, who started all this nightmare for America. Has nothing to do with it. And I would just give a pro tip to the Attorney General. There's 2 million documents in the Epstein files we're still waiting on. Go ahead and work on those.
Okay. About as happy as I can reasonably be, given the circumstances, with a response. That translator is the most accurate one I've seen. You know they're good when they're getting silly with it, right? You if you're like quickly translating into ASL, you've got to work the moves, you know? Pam Bondi tries to extort Minnesota to rig midterm elections. That about covers it. Donos? Donos! Everyone's favorite time, which is why viewership always skyrockets when we do it. Noah Too Cool for School. Thank you for the super kind $5 both. Can Oxford cloth button-downs be worn with sheen worsted wool suits? And can dress shirts be worn with casual suiting? One where either top or bottom can be worn separately, thanks. I think you can wear Oxford cloth button-downs with sheen worsted wool suits, but I don't know if I would care for dress shirts being worn with casual suiting. I feel like casual suiting should probably be worn with OCBDs or work shirts. But I'm sure there are people out there who can pull it off, you know? The Mon Italy flag sweater was on sale and cheaper than even the Cotton RL iconic flag sweater. Were you able to get one? We love the fashion segments. I did not get one because my beautiful partner told me that I have enough clothes for right now, and they're probably correct, and I'm not going to hold a grudge. The Zach of all trades, thank you for the $5. Stay warm out there in Northern Virginia. Dylan J, thank you for the tier 3 sub. Really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Pie Guy, thank you for the tier 4 sub. Haven't donoed since Biden won? Wow, it has been a while. 5 years on, I'm marrying my non-binary partner, moved, and have 6 figures saved. Love from San Diego, and thanks for all the entertainment, comrade. God damn, you're flexing on the people in chat are gonna kill themselves. You can't be saying that. You've got a baddie under your arm. You've got the money. You have to dial it back. Yeah, these people ain't shit now. Hell yeah. We love a good flex. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Winderix, thank you for the $10. Really appreciate that. Vancouver resident here. It's definitely been cold at night, but at least it's been sunny for like the last 10 days. Likewise, over here in good old Seattle, we've had some really, really nice weather. May not even get snow this winter at all. No. I mean, we haven't gotten any. I'm only 50 miles south of you. Aphex, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Really appreciate that. Curvy Driftwood, thank you for the $20. These Minnesotans are true patriots. American politics, media, and judicial systems are corrupted. The American people are the only ones who can stop this. Unfortunately, the American people are also really fucking stupid. So it's not no noble savagery here. You know, there's no like cavalry coming over the hill. It's not great. It's not great. The Zach of all trades, thank you so much for the tier 3 sub and for the 2 gifted tier 1 subs. Thank you for all you do. Here are some delightful pictures of the frozen Potomac, Alexandria, VA. Bonus SOG pick to soothe your day. Yep, that didn't work. Let me see if I can fix that. You gotta put a space after the link, folks. You gotta put a space or before the link. If you don't put a space before the link, no, it's not working. It's not working. The gallery. The Zach of all trades. Just post the gallery in chat, huh? The Mighty Tack, thank you for the $5. I indeed feel threatened by the guy with the baddie. I have several interviews with MIT this week, so wish me luck, Voosh. Hey, good luck. It's okay. Feeling threatened by the guy with the baddie is how many of us begin transformational life journeys that we end up benefiting from in the long run, right? Like, you know, that's a typical pattern. Yeah, the Zach of all trades. I'm afraid that link don't work. That link don't work, my friend. Really, I'm going to try again. Does it work when you click on it? Because it's not working for me or for Thana. Ash Kitty, thank you for the $5. Robert Field, thank you for the very kind $10. Thank you for keeping me up to date. The space you have made changed my personal dread/hype into communal dread/hype. The money's to keep it up. You have turned doing to alone to doing it together. Yes. No, it's if you're going to engage with bad news, it's morally necessary that you do so with company, you know? It definitely improves things. I'm happy to hear that I can provide that. Joan Bolt, thank you for the super kind $50 dono. Really appreciate that. Reactive airway disease is kind of what you are describing via allergies plus sick and persistent cough issues. It's often a consequence of childhood asthma and or hypermobile Ehlers, a genetic collagen disorder. Well, I know that at least with regards to the coughing, I have GERD. I don't know anything about this reactive airway disease, but I can Google it, you know. I'm uninsured. Googling is how I figure out everything about my body. It is a nerd-ass condition. It is. Thank you, John Bolt. Mr. Wolf, thank you for the $10. I'm Sandman for DSNY. Sandman for DSNY? Sandman for the Department of Sanitation of New York City. 19 years on fighting the storm now. Thank you for the kind words about us and what we do. Proud of my brothers and sisters. You should be. And I should be proud as well. You're like the only city that has a proud sanitation service, you know? Like sanitation workers, they work hard everywhere. But they should be given more respect. Much more respect. Thank you. Kong 10,000, thank you for the $5. Hey Vosh, will the recent shooting of Alex Pretty be enough to spark of a spark to wreck the Republican seats in the House and the Senate for the midterm? I can't see the future, my friend. It's not helping Republicans, that's for sure. Nova Kane, Snorcore, and John, thank you for the $2 all. Really appreciate that. Flop Bingus Republic, thank you for the $10. Really appreciate that. IMO, it should be said the corpo and oligarch deep state are not a unified force. That is true. That is true. The for instance, the oligarch deep state pushes aggressively right now for stuff like ICE, AI investment, surveillance, but support for Israel is more of a corpo deep state thing. There's a big overlap in a lot of issues, but you know, it is true. There's not a perfect 100% interest there. You can sort of. That's why deep state's a stupid term. It's not one group. Yeah, but we don't actually. What we're describing fundamentally is a conspiracy, right? You need to be able to gesture at the nature of the problem. If you could say like the problem is capital investment, right? Money, corporate interests, but it's not really money, right? It's more like the promise of access to future economic engagement. Like the amount of money that gets thrown around in elections is a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of how much money is on the line after those elections, right? Like you spend a couple billion to get somebody elected, but then potentially their decision-making sways trillions, you know? It's more like the promise of future power than it is the money up front. Like AIPAC doesn't give that much money, right? It's more like if you betray the will of AIPAC, all of a sudden every single corporate news channel is calling you an anti-Semite for saying that it's morally wrong to blow up children, right? That's not really like money shifting your opinion. It's the threat of you know, verbal violence or real violence. Victorious Gardenasaurus, thank you for the 2 $5 donos. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Sasha Newman, thank you for the very kind 1,000 RSD DINs. What the fuck does that mean? Serbian dinars. Now I know. Thank you very much. Your fashion autism helped me find a suit for a formal event on a tight budget in a limited amount of time and only having a mall at my disposal. I know I could have done better, but I'd still like you to know what still like to know what you think. Well, I can't know what you you can't know what I think because I can't see you, and also generally I don't. Oh, you popped into chat to show me. All right. Well, I don't do on-screen show-offs because that's a negative incentive. I'll look myself though. Hey, you put this together pretty good. I really like the tie clip. Though, traditionally the tie clip is lower on the tie. Meant to be hidden by the jacket, but that's really a taste thing. No, that's good. Well done. Wait, I want to say I can't put fit pics on stream because I did it for a very brief window of time, and then a lot of people donated and they were like, look at my outfit, and like I don't want to put myself in a position where one of these days somebody with low self-esteem is going to ask for my opinion on their outfit, and I'm going to say like, you know, I don't think it's great. Like, do you want my opinion or do you want like compliments? Because you're not paying me enough for compliments, right? You're paying for my opinion. Authenticity is part of the package. And then they kill themselves. I don't think it's good. I don't want them to do that. Oh, Zach of all trades. This is beautiful. God damn, that looks nice. So quiet, so calm, so peaceful. How much for a compliment? It's not happening. Also, a lot of people, by a lot, I don't mean like 50% of you, but a lot of people watch me and they're like, oh, Vosh, you handsome, soon-to-be silver fox, you devilish 6'2", 210-pound hunk of a man, you. I'll enter your orbit. I'll make you aware of me, you know. And then they'll donate, and there'll be pictures of them where maybe they look good, maybe they don't, but you can tell the intention of the picture is for me and not the audience or whatever. This is I'm telling you, this is like it's the reason why past a certain channel size, you know, sometimes people, the streamers, they get a bit more cagey. That's all. You know, you have to be careful with that, I think. Do you get dick pics from unhinged chatters? Buddy, I've gotten like propositions over emails, okay? It's just a part of being a public figure, all right? Big, you know, fucking Google Drive 40 images. Here's my fucking butt, you know. Do you then come and ban them? Usually they're wise enough to not provide me their like in-site chat name. Also, well, I just don't respond, right? But also, in my opinion, if they do that once, but then don't do it again, I attribute it to a manic episode, and I try not to think about it. Sorry, by try not to think about it, I don't mean like I'm traumatized, because I'm fucking not at all. I mean, like, I'm like, oh, whatever. Like, it was probably a manic thing or whatever, and then they, you know, they ride the bump, and then they're fine. It's not, I don't think it's that, like, it's not all that much. Yeah, you people, you people. All right. They just got a bit retarded with it. Yeah. Who amongst us, right? Okay, hold on. James Dorn, thank you for the $5. I feel like I've only heard 3 candidates that 100% believe in their message. Ron Paul, Bernie Sanders, and James Tallarico. Deep State hates them. Ron Paul, the problem with Ron Paul is that, like, whether or not he believed what he said, his shit was not consistent. Right-wing libertarianism never is. Like, it's the basic motive of right-wing libertarianism, like freedom from government intervention, falls apart the moment you talk about cops or borders. And what about positive freedom? What about the ability to act on your will? You know? Like, if you were dropped in the middle of the Sahara Desert with no clothing, food, or water, you would technically, in a libertarian sense, be perfectly free. There is no cop around to tell you what you can't do. You can do literally what you can run around naked. I guess that's all you can do, to be honest. But that's it. You have total freedom from government intervention. But you don't really have the freedom to do what you want because there are barriers imposed on you by the natural environment and by your own abilities and resources. You know? Scorpion 3128, thank you for the $5. Extraordinary people exist and can win. Diana Moreno is leading in New York Assembly 36. 200K raised in 7 weeks between donations/matching funds. Average donor $60. Nice. Really happy to hear that. I promise you guys that sometime soon I'm going to get engaged more with the midterms, but I'm not going to lie. Right now I'm full on, like, our country is being ripped apart by pedophile demons. I would sooner give a dog the right to vote than any Republican, et cetera, et cetera. I'm a little bit too... I am not in the mood right now to engage with... You probably saw it when I was looking at Tallarico and Crockett as well. I'm not really in the mental state to sit here and be like, I think that's a more electable message for Tennessee 7. Yep, this I think is, if they're able to get 2 more seats here, they'll be able to swing the majority in favor of, like, I just can't, it's not the mental space that I'm in right now. I'm in a very, very different mental space. I'll get there. L, thank you for the $1. Alex Layden, thank you for the very kind $20. I really appreciate that. The work you do keeping up with the news ain't easy. Good job. Also wins the next Claire stream. The next Claire stream could be tomorrow, maybe, because I had to take 4 days off because my brother was visiting, but I'm back on the normal schedule now. Assuming that my current sickness does not rise above the level of a sore throat, like it stops here and then goes down, and I'll take care of myself. I'll drink some tea, etc., etc. You should sue your brother for lost income. Now that's a good idea. You know, I'd be happy to do some Claire Obscure Expedition 33. Fuck, I still need to play it off stream. I haven't, because I haven't had any time to play any games off stream. I need to, like, get through some of the grinding stuff. Do my homework, yeah. Still alive, thanks to $5. Does the news affect your mood in your personal life when you're not live streaming? Yeah, of course it does. I mean, it's my country, you know? It's going a really bad way. No matter what, it's like got to get a lot worse before it gets better too. So What are you going to do? The Queen Matriarch, thank you for the $5. Hey, Vosh, my wife and I are closing on our first house this Tuesday. Never thought we'd see the day. First-time homeowners. Nice! Well done. I doubt I'll ever see that. That's crazy, you know? In this day and age? Phew. Kowalski, thanks to $5. Ice caps help stabilize the jet stream as opposed to open sea in the Arctic. As we lose ice, polar vortex gets more likely to break south, hard on trees and cows. Gonna have a snowstorm in Los Angeles before long. Yeah, fucked up. SamFan155, thank you for the $25. I really appreciate that. If law-abiding constituents get automatically labeled as terrorists whenever they get killed, then by all means should... I don't know if I can say that. Should someone bite Kristi Noem's feeding hand? I don't... If the official statement from the Department of Homeland Security is that your First, Second, and Fourth Amendment rights are invalid, and no amount of peaceful behavior on your part will keep you from getting killed, like you're deterring, like you are removing the barriers that keep people from engaging in widespread violence. Well, I thought this community hated homeowners. Where's the shit talking, telling them they're class traitors or whatever? We don't hate homeowners. We're not, this is not even close to the most landlord hating community, actually. A lot of people do not have a, like, apart from the total nationalization of the housing market, a lot of people don't seem to recognize the fact that, like, landlords and renting are going to be a thing for a long time. It's not necessarily a bad system. You shouldn't have to own a house to live in a place. That's fucking stupid. So you can never move. You can never, like, try out a new city or spend a year here, then a year there. Like, you got every time you have to buy and then sell a house. Sheesh. Sheesh. And finally, Shikigami-chan, thank you for the $5. I've been doing DoorDashing / Uber Eats gigs work on bicycle, and I honestly enjoy it more than working at McDonald's. You get to enjoy freedom like that. Yeah. Really depends on your area, I imagine, and how people tend to tip or whatever. But yeah, I mean, the gig work is fundamentally unstable. But I mean, I know from some people's experiences that it can potentially be a better deal than a lot of wagey work, you know? Now, whatever the case may be, folks, I love you all very much. I'm going to head out. I'll be here tomorrow, assuming I don't wake up crazy sick, but I shouldn't. Yeah, everyone take care, and I'll see you guys soon.